again, because kids are working on IXL at all hours. And so they have access to it even from home. But some of the success that I want to share with you, the very last column on the very right is the average change in the diagnostic levels each month. And so you can see that we're making great gains there. But the ones that are up there are slightly off from the most recent tonight data. So we have +4 for our fourth grade, and that is in the area of math. And then our literacy is +7 for each student, so that's growth per month. And then for our fifth graders, math is at 13, and the change here is in our literacy scores. They had an 8 increase. And then the bottom one is sixth grade, 15 for math and 6 for literacy. Some of the success that I wanted to share with you is related to mastered skills compared to proficient skills. So IXL asks that we head toward 80% or higher. 80% is considered proficient, and mastered skills, a student would have to get to 100% to get a mastery. And so we've had so far over 15,000 proficient skills in the area of English language arts, proficient or mastered skills. And for math, we are at roughly 33,000 skills, either proficient or mastered so far this year for our students. So we see a lot of progress happening, and that is coupled with great teaching to continue that cycle. This slide hasn't changed much yet because we haven't had our end of the year assessment that we will have later this year. But we do feel like we are making great growth and continuing to track to meet or exceed our goal in both English language arts and math. You can see our scores on the left for iLearn for math, and then the states are on the right. And this is for English language arts. The same progress is continuing there. We have several things to celebrate, and I tried to highlight some staff and students and groups as well. So Mrs. Fernandez was most recently named one of the Golden Apple Award winners, and there are 5 in the Tippecanoe County, so we're very proud of her. I pulled a quote from her speech, which I love so much. She said, I love being around kids all day because I think kids are the best of humanity. And that just really summarizes what you feel when you walk in her classroom. She is absolutely delighted to be around kids every day. Whoops. Sarah Spears was also recognized, and this just happened in January on the 16th. We heard that she had a grant submitted from the Lilly Endowment, Teacher Creativity, and we're so thrilled. She has a $15,000 grant, and you can see that she's going to be exploring through travel to bring that information back to our students. So I'm really excited next year to see what she does with this. And I hope that if there's an opportunity, she can share with you as well. Our cultural night is something that I always am very, very excited about. We had last year 11 cultures represented. This year we grew to 16, which we feel like is a great jump, and we continue to try to reach all our different populations and different cultures, and the diversity that's in our building represented through this event was really fantastic. I love that everyone, adults and children, were learning from each other, and you could just see that people were super excited to hear what other cultures had to share there. We had music, we had dance, we had games. There were so many different things that they can see, materials that they can learn about through the different cultures represented. Lots of food too, by the way. We do have 36 different languages spoken in our building currently. Many families have multiple languages spoken at home, but we continue to embrace that, and also know that culture is beyond languages. So there's a lot that was highlighted through all of these groups. And one of the really great recent things that happened is we had an author visit. John David Anderson visited our school. And he happened to be coming on a Friday, and the night before we had Battle of the Books. And our Battle of the Books competition for the regional competition was located in our school. And he was in the library signing books for the following day when our students were going to hear him. And he took time to come to the Battle of the Books competition to give books to the kids on the teams and take pictures with them, which I think was such a highlight. So imagine being a little student in this Battle of the Books competition, and one of the authors of one of the books that you had to read for the competition is right there in the building. That was such a cool experience. So he was super with the kids, just did an awesome job presenting and was very funny. We all walked away thinking he's an amazing author and really great speaker for our students. We also had 11 different teams that went to Lego Robotics earlier this year. We had 2 that ended up advancing to state, and we thought that was very impressive, as most of them are 5th graders. We have some 4th graders in there. There is one at least 6th grader in that bundle there. And so these kids are going to do great things, and we were very proud of their success. From our music department, we had the ISMA competition recently, and our students in orchestra, we had 53 students that earned a gold in the ISMA competition, 4 silver, and we had 3 of those students that advanced to state. In band, we had 13 gold, but a reminder, band starts in 5th grade, so they don't have as many years opportunity-wise to be able to get into ISMA as a student in our building. And then we had students that also participated through piano. 21 received gold and 1 silver, and 4 of those students advanced to the state and earned a gold in state, which is really difficult to do. This past Saturday, we had our Spelling Bee regional competition, and CJ Hipsher was our representative for our building and did a great job. I know that's a tough competition to represent your school, and she did an outstanding job doing that for our building. I also want to say that our alternate was Kyla Janich, and those 2 girls were so sweet. While they were competing in our school, they were cheering each other on. They had the best sportsmanship. So not only are kids amazing spellers, but they're also amazing humans, which I think needs to be recognized too. Our Spell Bowl team this year made it to the final with 56 out of 56, a perfect score. And of course, then they were named state champions for this year. So we're really proud of our little spelling team there. And I have a highlight video. How do I do this from here? This kind of represents a little bit of the other things that I can't share everything in our building. And I know this doesn't even tell you all of it.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
It
you,
looks
everyone.
very fun. It makes me wish I could go back. Does anyone have any questions before we move on? Okay, great. Thank you so much. I should have mentioned before we started that Dr. Purpura is on from Belgium, and he's over here on the screen, and all the audio's working, and you can hear us, and everything's great. Okay, we're a little delayed, but you can.
Yeah, I can hear you.
There you are. Hi. Okay, super.
I just muted myself.
That's fine. And it's midnight there, so we very much appreciate you being with us. And we'll try to hurry up. Okay, the communication from the audience, the first person to sign up was Herr Stute. So come on down.
Good evening. My name is Randy Stute, and I've taught German at West Lafayette High School for 22 of my 41 years. Everyone knows that West Lafayette is a serious academic institution, and I'm very personally proud to be part of the staff in this community. Therefore, I am particularly embarrassed to see board members talking or taking junk Google surveys of their selected friends on serious existential questions for our corporation, our student programs, and our future staffing needs. I really can't believe that anyone who believes in real educational research or assessment would consider any Google Doc survey posted on Facebook to be valid on any subject, let alone on such short notice. Surely no professional academic would use so-called data to base an opinion or a vote on an issue as crucial as the transfer policy, which is before you tonight. In my opinion, we are actually already 3 to 4 months late in getting this policy passed, based on the timing of both student and parental choices. So I urge this board to finally move ahead and finish the transfer policy tonight so we can move ahead recruiting our area's families and helping them to get the best possible education and to make sure that our own programs are fully funded. I'd also like to make sure that we start the referendum campaign on the positive, unified note to maximize our community's ability to deal with state-imposed changes. RDP.
Thank you. The next speaker we have is Wendy Ayler. Come on up.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi. My name is Wendy Ayler, and I'm the Executive Director of the West Lafayette Schools Education Foundation. I am here this evening to invite each of you, both here in the room and those watching online, to attend the 2026 Scarlet and Gray Dinner and Auction. This is the largest fundraising event that the foundation hosts each year, and it is critical to raising funds that support the important work of the foundation. This year's Scarlet and Gray takes place in a few weeks on Saturday, March 28th at the Stables Event Center. Tickets and sponsorships are available now and can be found at WLSEF.org. The theme is Prom Through the Decades, and guests are encouraged to wear prom-like attire, but it is not required. Please don't let the theme intimidate you. You may be wondering, what happens at Scarlet and Gray? The night begins with a social hour to visit with friends and neighbors and to secure your bidder number. You'll be able to browse the silent auction items and take photos at the special prom theme backdrop. The silent auction actually opens on Sunday, March 22nd, and will remain open until 7:30 p.m. the night of the event. You can bid from anywhere using the event site. When it's time for dinner, we will live auction the opportunity for your table to be the first in line at the buffet. Very popular. Following dinner, there will be a program that features the foundation's teacher grant program, and we will also live auction a few special items. The night ends with the crowning of the prom queen and king and dancing to music through the decades as we celebrate the good work that the foundation helps to support in our awesome West Lafayette schools. So why is this important? Why host an event like this? Scarlet and Gray provides a time to tell the story of what the foundation does for West Lafayette schools. For example, did you know, I hope that you know, that in November when SNAP benefits changed, we were able to quickly adjust and support an increased number of families enrolled in the West Lafayette Backpack Program. We were able to pivot from supporting 22 families to 57 families in a matter of days. The foundation has also been able to meet an increased request for teacher grants, awarding over $12,000 in the 2024-25 school year. And our grant cycle for applications ends this Friday. So we're looking forward to awarding more grants this year. Scarlet and Gray also helps to diversify funding sources through multiple channels, such as business sponsorships, ticket sales, and auction items. Our audience grows with each event. And Scarlet and Gray, most importantly, helps to build community. This event brings together alumni, families, local businesses, and school leaders, fostering a sense of shared purpose. It's an evening of Red Devil pride like no other. If you haven't attended before, I hope that you will consider joining us on March 28th. There's even a discounted ticket price for first-time attendees. I can't wait to tell you about how the foundation has supported West Lafayette teachers and students this past year. Please feel free to contact me if you have questions. I love talking about the scholarships that the foundation awards, the exciting programs that West Lafayette teachers bring to life with grant funds, and the families who are able to feed their kids on the weekends and through the summer with support through the backpack program. There's no better time to get involved. I hope to see you all on March 28th. Thank you.
Thank you. I found my homecoming dress circa 1990 in my sister's dress-up bin for her her two daughters, my nieces. So that alone should be worth the cost of the ticket. All right, the next item on our agenda is the consent agenda, and I would like to move that we pull Wonderland because Dr. Perper is on their board and needs to abstain. So do I have a second for that? Seconded by Rachel, thank you. So we'll go ahead and take a motion on the rest of the consent agenda. Okay, Lawrence moves and Rachel seconds. And, oh, see, this gets me every week. There we go. We'll do the buttons. And David, since you can't do buttons,
We have to do a voice vote.
we have to do a voice vote for everything. Good, no buttons. Cool. All right. David, go ahead. What's your vote on the consent agenda?
Aye.
Daisha? Yui? Rachel? Yes. Lawrence? George?
Yes.
And I also vote yes, so that passes 7. And then the next item is the Wonderland agreement. Is there any discussion? Or we need a motion, sorry. Rachel, thank you.
That we approve the Wonderland annual lease renewal.
Got it. And seconded by Lawrence. There we go. Is there any discussion on that? Nope. Okay. David's abstaining. Daisha? Yue?
Abstain.
Yue? Rachel?
Yes.
Lawrence? George?
Yeah.
Amy is yes. That's 6-1-0. There we go. Okay. Moving right along. Seeing no unfinished business, we'll move on to new business. And I believe that is you, Dr. Greiner.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Mrs. Austin. We have Kristen McClellan from Ice Miller with us this evening to provide initial information regarding the process for a potential referendum in 2026, November, and it would be an operating referendum. Kristen will review a prospective timeline. She'll outline next steps, and then the board will have an opportunity for questions. Following the presentation, we will recommend that the board approve engaging Ice Miller to serve as bond counsel for the potential referendum, as was the case for 2023 renewal. And you may recall that the administration suggests that we keep the team together since it was a successful campaign previously. Mrs. McClellan, would you please come forward at this time to address the board?
Good evening. Again, Kristen McClellan from Ice Miller. It's great to see all of you again. In your board packet, we have submitted to you a proposed timetable. I also have printed copies if anyone needs them. The reason for the proposed timetable is to give you an outlook on what it will take to be on the November 3rd ballot. So I like to actually start backwards on the second page where you see the November 3rd election, because the most important date on this whole timetable is that noon on August 1st. And I like to work backwards from there, because if you remember from our past referendum, state law requires you to be certified, everything to be done by noon on August 1st. So what I like to do then is look backwards. What do we need to do to get certified? What we will need to do is we will need to have you adopt a resolution to put the referendum on the ballot anytime before July 3rd. So on this timetable, which again is just an outline, we can move dates if we need to, but before July 3rd, so I use your June regular board meeting, which is June 8th, that's when the board would need to adopt the resolution to put the operating referendum on the ballot. If you continue to go backwards, you'll see that the first board action, though, would occur at your May meeting if we would follow this timetable. At the May meeting, you would give us the authority, and frankly, Dr. Greiner, the authority to start working with the county auditor to try to figure out what the form of the question will be and the calculations that we will need. So the legal process will really start in May. We'll get the question, the information we need from the auditor. Below that, you'll see we'll also draft a revenue spending plan as we did before. We will also submit the form of the question to the Department of Local Government Finance for their ultimate approval. So again, legal steps begin in May with the formal resolution being adopted in June so we can get certified by noon on August 1st. What I will say though is before May is all of the information that you as a board will need to determine before we have that June resolution. So on the very last page, you'll see the draft form of the public question. This is exactly how it reads in our statutes right now. The only thing I did different for you was name your school corporation. So you'll see in black the language that has to be on the ballot under state law. The red is the information that you all as a board, along with the administration, will need to determine what we will state. For example, just as we did in 2023, we have to have a purpose and we have to have the years in which we will ask for the operating referendum, which you can go up to 8 years under state law. In addition, you'll also have to have the rate that you'll ask for, the maximum rate. What changed though since 2023, if you were on the board, you know this form of the ballot language is extremely different than it was in 2023. If you remember in 2023, we had to have certain percentages that the state required in the ballot question. Now it's different. Now you still will have your rate, but you'll also have to include a maximum levy and the median home value rounded up to $50,000. And that's why we work backwards and work with the auditor to get that information. So again, state law dictates what the form of the question can say. We only can fill in where the language is in red. One other thing that is also included in your packet is, and you will remember this if you were on the board for our 2023 referenda, but what it is also in June or whenever we decide to adopt that final resolution that would place the question on the ballot, there will be rules that come into play about promotion. We'll no longer be able to use school facilities, anything like that to promote the project. We don't need to go through those rules at this time unless you'd like to, but I did want Dr. Greiner to include those in your board packet just so you could have a reminder. I also have printed copies if you need any printed copies, but I'm happy to answer any questions. Again, we wanted to give you an outline really of the steps that it would take. Some school corporations will choose to go later in June, for example, before that July 3rd date, just because they need more time. But again, we followed your normally scheduled board meetings.
Great. Any questions, George?
I'll take one of those paper copies.
Yeah. Of the timetable and the rules.
I've got the time, no, just the rules.
Thanks.
Yeah, I did bring extra copies.
David, would you like us to grab one for you? Yeah.
Sure.
mail it. Okay, yeah. Could we have a copy for David as well, please? Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions, Stacia?
I actually have a question, maybe for Dr. Greiner. I'm not sure who, just kind of what this time looks like from the perspective of the board and board discussion of, you know, deciding the rate. So I see kind of what we have to approve, but when will there be an actual kind of deciding? It looks like we have to make a decision on the rate and we have to make a decision on the purpose. So when is the plan for the board to be involved in that discussion?
the board will be involved throughout the process, and the things you're talking about, we would schedule work sessions and have Mr. Reuter come in again, and we would work through the process involving those members of the team working with the board.
Oh, there you go.
When does that have, like, which of these dates does all of that need to be done by, May or June, or?
So you don't have to have anything done until we work with the auditor.
Okay.
So the resolution will contain, on June 8th, will contain the actual ballot language. However, to get the information from the auditor, that's why we backed it up a month to May. Great question. So it can occur in April if you'd like, it can occur in May, and we can have a later board meeting. It's really up to you all. But in order to get the question certified by the DLGF, we would like to have the information, I would say, by the end of May.
And if I'm correct, you would probably be meeting like you did last time with the team, Mr. Reuter and so forth, to determine when we were going to schedule those meetings with the board. And we would be communicating, Mrs. Mumford, with the board through Friday notes, through one-on-one dialogue and so forth, to make sure that everybody had the information that they needed, and then that we were having the necessary public meetings to allow the board to do their work.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So I remember you saying correctly just now.
Got it.
The black language in the draft form is directly from the state, right?
Correct.
And the red language is the language that we can add, and also is this partly your suggestion as well?
So what's in red is what was in the state law. So we.
What's in red's in the state law?
Yes, but it says insert description of purposes. That's what you can change. So I took it from the statute, put it here, but the red is what you will be able to change. The black lettering is what you cannot change.
Okay, the reason I asked is because that parentheses median value rounded up to the next 50,000, is that in the state law that we have to put in the question, or is that something that came from Ice Miller?
So the median value rounded up to the next 50,000 is in the state law, but we will not include that in the form of the ballot question. Let's say, I use for example, let's say here in my school district, the median home value is 147, but we would have to base the rate off 150. So if yours is 230, you will have to base the rate off 250,000. So what's in red, median home value rounded up to 50,000, is a reminder that whatever number we get from the auditor, we're gonna have to round that up to the next 50,000.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, sorry, go ahead, Lawrence.
A quick question regarding the procedures. So basically, you guys come to help us make sure we follow all the legal requirement procedures. So from your experience, do you see any school corporation, their referendum was challenged because they didn't follow the correct procedures?
Do I see any difficulty with them being
Yeah,
able to
did
follow?
you? No,
No,
never.
sometimes, there's always one or two where, we have to go before the county election board. Sometimes there's been an issue, and this happens later to get it on the ballot. Sometimes there's been an issue there. But no, I haven't. I mean, there's been some things we have to work around, but 99% of the time, once we follow this
Follow this
timetable.
timetable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another question, in case, say after some research, we end up, we think probably we won't skip this kind of things. When will be the next time we can try this referendum?
The law changed so that now you can only go on a referendum ballot in November of even years.
So every other year?
Yeah, so if you decide every November of even years. So if you would decide not to go in 26, your next time would be November of 2028.
Okay. And then regarding the cost, my understanding you guys charge the hourly rate. So I'm just wondering, do you have a ballpark estimate? I mean, we already worked together last time, so for you know us better. So can you have a kind of estimate, because we want kind of cost?
Yeah, no, that generally, and it should be in our engagement letter, but generally it's from 5,000 to 14,000, depending on how much help that the school corporation needs.
But normally below 14,000, it should be.
Yeah, again,
Kind
it
of.
depends on what each school corporation needs, but that's our range.
Okay. Another question regarding this service is called a bond. Let me called bond consulting service, right? Bond counseling service. Yeah, bond counseling service. So I'm just wondering, I understand probably that's part of your business department, whatever you call that section of business. From our point of view, when you talk with the communities, I mean, we're not issuing any new bond, it's just kind of referendum things. Do you think, is that possible? You can change the service contract to the legal service or referendum counseling service or something like that?
I mean, we can make changes if you want. That's been our practice since the state turned over to referendum, that we call it as part of our bond counsel service. You don't have to be a bond counsel to issue bonds. I mean, but we'd be happy to change the wording if you would like. But it's the same sort of services, and our engagement letter covers that. It's reviewing state law regarding a levy, and that's really what bond lawyers do in school corporations, is they work with you on your levies. It doesn't have to be a bond. It could be an operating levy, it could be a debt service levy, any of those sorts of things. So that's why it's called bond counsel services.
Okay. So is that very difficult to change that to the legal service or something, the title of
It is,
the?
I mean, it would have to go through our firm policy, but I don't think it means anything different because it's still working with your levies.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Rachel?
For anyone listening at home, the document in our board docs is bond counsel services. The information regarding fees and billing is on page 2 under the heading fees and billing. So thank you for that clear documentation. I really appreciate it. If anybody wants to get it, you now know right where it is. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mrs. McClellan.
Thank you. As Dr. Greiner said, his recommendation is to approve the engagement with Ice Miller. Is there a motion?
Have a motion to
Motion to approve?
approve the.
Thank you. Is there a second? Seconded by George. Any further discussion? No? Okay. David, I'll go to you first to approve the engagement with Ice Miller.
Yes.
Daisha? Yue? Rachel?
Yes.
Lawrence?
Yes.
Okay, that's 7-0. Wonderful. Thank you, everyone, and we will be seeing you soon. Okay. And please don't feel like you need to stay. I'm sorry, the time for public comment was at the beginning. We don't do public discussion during the meeting. So if you'd like to stay and talk with us afterwards, that'd be fine. Okay? The next item on the agenda is C-125. That is the policy regarding transfer students. And Rachel, would you like to take us through that?
I would, but I'd like to make a motion to limit debate on this.
Okay.
This policy's been open on our documents since April of '25. It was kind of stalled for a while, but it's been most recently very active for the past 90 days. With the conservative estimate, we have discussed this particular policy in different iterations, about 10 hours in public meetings. So I would like to make a motion to limit debate to 2 rounds of comments per member, not to exceed 2 minutes each, and I would request a timer for that.
Okay, is there a second? Seconded by George. Any discussion?
You said 2 minutes, right?
2 minutes, please.
I have a question. There's lots of different things that we still haven't totally covered that legal counsel came back on. Is that covering each of these separate topics?
I would propose 2 minutes per option.
Per option, perfect, thank you.
Okay. This one requires 2/3 vote, so we'll continue to do around the table. And since I am not going to put David on the spot again, I'll go ahead and vote yes. George?
Yes.
Lawrence? No? Okay. Rachel?
Yes.
Yes. Yue? Daisha? David?
Yes.
Okay, so that does not have the 2/3 majority that we needed, so that will not pass. Let me write a note. Okay. Seeing as how that happened, would you like to go ahead and take us through anyway?
Sure, I would still really implore my colleagues on the board to keep your comments brief and try and avoid repeating yourself. We have spent a lot of time on this one. So we did meet in policy committee and then followed up. So when I say policy committee, I'm referring to myself, Dr. Purpura, and Mr. Wong. We met along with administrators to go through an initial presentation. Last Monday, we met in public work session as a board and reviewed. In general, and then after all of that was reviewed, we sent it to the attorney, as you're all aware. So attorney has given some feedback on some of these items that we put through and requested of them. The first of them is in the very first paragraph. We changed some language and we discussed to make it give a statement along the lines of enrollment in the corporation only being guaranteed for students who reside within the corporation's boundaries. Our attorney has advised that they would not recommend guaranteeing enrollment. Followed up with additional feedback from ISBA Legal, who kind of mirrored that exception as well. And so that's our first item for discussion, is how we'd want to edit that paragraph to not say that we are guaranteeing enrollment.
Yeah, question for you. What was their logic behind saying that we can't guarantee enrollment for people that literally live here?
I think that there is always an exception, so they avoid just using guarantee language. I think we all know that is the practice, but it is the legal obligation to allow everyone when there could be exceptions to that rule. I don't know what those exceptions would be. I'm just telling you what legal said.
Do you think they'd be opposed if we use something a little less, something persuasive but less ironclad, like assure?
I think that it is not illegal for us to use the word guarantee. So if we really feel strongly about the word guaranteed, we can keep it in there and still be in compliance with the law. I believe that it is just a caution against it. So I do think softening that word could be helpful if everybody agrees to that.
Maybe you have a motion, maybe you have a motion first and then discuss. I can have a motion.
Yeah, how are we going to run this tonight, Amy?
Sorry, it took me a minute to get it pulled up and my phone keeps ringing with spam. Let's do, shall we do a motion for each individual edit? And then at the very end, we'll do a motion to approve the whole
Yes, I
chalupa?
will say so. Yes, I
Okay.
think that's.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
5, 6 items
Yeah.
I need.
So when I introduce, what I'll do is make the motion and then somebody can second off of that and then we can discuss if that works, okay?
That's
Yeah, I think
perfect.
that's
Okay,
Yep.
so I'm going to make a motion that we consider this highlighted section, but I like George's suggestion of changing the word from guaranteed to assured. That's my motion for that part of the policy.
Okay, is there a second?
I can second.
Lauren seconds, okay. Is there any discussion? Yue?
I wonder whether the legal service suggested that we don't use this language because in some cases, for example, we may expel a student because of discipline issue or crime, or I don't know, just whatever reason, we cannot guarantee or assure we will be liable for the sentence we put here. So alternatively, we can remove it completely for now, just to be safe, because I don't know how guarantee and assure differ that much from the legal perspective.
So to clarify for people listening, the sentence that Dr. Yin has recommended striking is enrollment in the corporation is only guaranteed for students who reside within the corporation's boundaries or whose parent or legal guardian is employed by the corporation as specified in this policy. All other components of that sentence are addressed inside the policy.
Okay, so are you making a motion?
Yes, because it was me who originally proposed to add this sentence and in the later part, and we, at the work meeting, we moved it here. So I see the legal counsel's suggestion, so I try to understand what they mean, and that's what I come up with. I think what they suggested makes sense.
So we can save ourselves a lot of vote if I amend my
That'd be
motion.
great.
Let me, on Dr. Yin's advice, I will amend my motion to strike the entire sentence, beginning with enrollment and ending with policy.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Lawrence. Any discussion on that? Yeah, go ahead.
Just, I think that's a good idea, just remove this sentence. We can prioritize our district students in other provisions. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? No? Okay, we're going to do a voice vote on striking the sentence, enrollment in the corporation is only guaranteed for students who reside within the corporation's boundaries or whose parent or legal guardian is employed by the corporation as specified in this policy. I vote yes. George?
Yes.
Lawrence? Rachel?
Yes.
Yue? Dacia? Yes. And David?
Yes.
Okay, that passes 7-0. What is our next?
Rachel, the Google Doc that's in the box folder, is that the one we're working on?
We are working off of second reading C 125, admission of the corporation, yeah, inbox.
So I will make that change.
Sorry.
Well, that's the one that's in the folder. Yeah, the one I'm looking at is the one that's in the folder right now.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so the next highlighted section is in section A, children of divorced parents, item 2. No later than 14 days before the first student day of the school year for which the parent seeks enrollment, the parent with physical custody of the child must notify the superintendent or designee of their election to enroll the child in the corporation. Our legal counsel's advice on this, there was nothing wrong with including it, but it seems unnecessary. And she further went on to say the law requires parents to select which residence they will use for enrollment. The law does not require the election to occur within 14 days prior to the start of the school year. The language around timing is meant to encourage early notification to the corporation for planning purposes. I'm going to make a motion that we, upon the advice of legal counsel, strike item 2 from children of divorced parents, section A.
I second.
Okay, Rachel moves to strike that. Lawrence seconds. Any discussion? No? Okay, we'll go ahead and do the voice vote. I vote yes. George?
Yes.
Lawrence? Rachel?
Yes.
Yue? Yes. Dacia? Yes. David?
Yes.
That passes 7-0 to strike that
Which
part.
specific part?
We are striking
thing.
A2
A2.
under, yeah, children of divorced parents.
Okay.
May I ask a question? Not
Sure.
about that part, but about the first paragraph, the one we just crossed, the next sentence. The legal counsel also has some comments on it. And I also have questions about it when we'll have a chance to ask a question about this.
Are you referring to the corporation verifies Indiana
Yeah,
residency,
right,
dot, dot, dot?
exactly. Yeah.
Rachel, was that part of the original package of this policy, or is that language that was added later?
I think it was language that was added later. It's not in this document.
It's not in the document you're working from?
Correct.
Okay, so Yue, you want to look at the corporation verifies Indiana residency under C-125-R and reports on student enrollment, ADM, in accordance with applicable statute and Indiana Department of Education guidance as outlined in C-125-E?
Yes,
Okay.
I have a question about this one. Can I ask my question?
Yes.
Okay, the first is, it says that the corporation will verify the residency. And as we all know, community members ask questions about it. And so I wonder how we verify residency.
What our current practice is?
Right, yeah, and another question is, we have 125-R, 125-E. Can you explain their difference and, or whether we will later review them again? And it sounds like they are some kind of appendix to this policy, right? Some of them are operationalize the policy. We will determine here. So does that mean after this policy is finalized, we will visit those policies and make any necessary changes? Because we do hear feedback from the community members regarding verification of the residency.
Okay, Dr. Greiner, could you share with us the current practice?
To verify enrollment, a new parent must produce a deed or a mortgage statement or a lease of the home they are living in, and then a utility bill of some sort.
Right, I see that, but the question we all received from the community members is, will we do that annually, or we will only do it once for all? Because the people who bring the concern about that some people may abuse the system. For example, they show that residency proof once, and the kids is enrolled. Once the kids enrolled, they move out.
We do not do it annually.
Okay, so then I wonder for those operational policy, later will we revisit them and change them to make sure that we do it annually and to prevent any abuse of the system?
You said we received that commentary. When did we receive that?
An email.
Oh, there was an email regarding the residency issue.
Just yesterday, right? Yesterday? And I heard that concern before, but just yesterday, that email reminded me that it's related to this enrollment policy. And so, and here we refer to it, I feel that need to be clarified.
Okay, Rachel?
On that particular, I would say, I'm sorry. It seems to me that it's our job to set the policy that says these are the rules, and then ask for our administration to put in place administrative guidelines to ensure that those rules are set. And if we received a community complaint, it would be appropriate then for us as board members or anyone in the community to reach out to administration and challenge or inquire related to those administrative guidelines. So, Dr. Greiner, if you received a complaint from a community member that said, hey, so-and-so is not really living here, and I've got a concern about that, what would be your response to that inquiry? I'm sure it's probably not ever happened, but if it did happen, what would be your response?
I probably would talk to my team, honestly, because no, I haven't had community members call and do that. And we could certainly call the parent and ask them if they live there or if they've moved. But I think we'd want to be careful if we had community members calling on community members.
I agree. Thank you.
Does that satisfy your question?
Not really, because what I ask is, who will determine the 125-R and the 125-E? And we had that in the previous packet. And my question is, after we finalize this one, are we going to revisit those policy and make any changes? For example, sounds to me those annual verifications necessary.
Does anyone remember where this particular language came from?
I do not. I'm sorry.
I don't either. I move that we strike the whole sentence because it's confusing, no one knows where it came from, and it's just causing delay. Can I have a second to that? To strike the sentence, the corporation verifies blah, blah, blah through C-125E. Can we just strike that for now? And if legal comes back and says that it's something we have to have, we can put it back in and find out what they're referring to?
But somewhere we need to specify how we verify the residency, or the other school districts' policies said that.
Okay,
I
but bear
checked
in
several,
mind
but
that-
they have that information, but we don't necessarily, we don't have it here, but we need to have them somewhere.
Okay, Rachel?
I would like to request that you ask the policy committee, transfer responsibility for that policy committee, and when we meet next time, we will review those policies. In the meantime, I would second the motion to strike it from this policy for clarity's sake. Policy committee will be meeting again in the month of April. I'm assuming Dr. Purpura is going to agree to that when he's not jet lagged, that we'll meet again.
You were back,
Yeah.
April?
So I would just ask that you, as chair, delegate responsibility for review of those policies that are connected and present those at the next board meeting.
That sounds great. And in the meantime, we have a motion and a second to strike that sentence. Is there any further discussion? Okay, then we'll go ahead and do the voice vote. I vote aye. George? Lawrence? Rachel?
Yes.
Yue? Yes. Stacia? David? To strike
Yes.
that? Okay, thank you. All right, so we're going to strike all the pink, yellow. Okay, moving on.
All right, moving on, section D, item 2. We had a question in our work session about the use of the word parent, if that word parent should be substituted for parent legal guardian, or just legal guardian throughout the document. Legal counsel responded that regarding legal settlement, the law distinguishes between parents and other adults caring for students, so she would recommend keeping it as parent. Also in this section, so I would recommend no change, move no change. In this section, we do have 2 edits that were reviewed by legal. One of them was deleting the word policy and replacing it with section D. And the other was adding and residency in item 2. So that is inside of the continued eligibility change in employment status. So I'd like to make a motion that we make the section D and residency in item 2 edits and not make any change to the parent or legal guardian language.
Okay, so you'd like to move that we approve that paragraph as presented
With the exception, the 2 edits,
with the
correct.
2 edits, okay. We need a second on that one? Lawrence seconds, okay. Are you with us? There you go. Okay. Is there any discussion on that paragraph? Yue?
Just to clarify, if a child's legal guardians is their grandparents, and the grandparents live here or works here, then we cannot take the kids. So
Right.
I'm kind of confused here because it's not uncommon that some kids' legal guardians are not their parents.
That's correct, that's correct. So the law actually covers that specifically, what is a parent, legal guardian. And so there's no need for us to repeat state law inside our policy. But the law uses the word parent. So we would be aligned with state law if we use the word parent, and that would cover a grandparent or a legal guardian, foster guardianship, any of those varieties of guardianship that happened, it would cover that inside our policy.
Go ahead, please. Yeah, Dr. Greiner has a clarifying comment.
When we're finished with this, it's something we talked about.
Oh, okay. Is that all, are you clear on why we're using parent and not guardian?
So right now, parents doesn't mean mom, dad. It means all the legal, it can be parent, father, mother, grandparents, and other
Legal
legal
guardian,
guardians.
yes.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to go back just quickly and clarify for Dr. Yin's question. When I stated we do not annually ask every parent in the district that is a resident parent to submit a lease or proof of their home coupled with a utility bill. Each school does mail one time a year something physically to their address, and those return items, there's follow-up in those parents, but every parent is not required annually to go in and submit the documents.
Okay, so we have corrected that paragraph. Is there any further discussion on the continued eligibility paragraph? Daisha?
We had a community member reach out with a concern asking why we're allowing, potentially, depends on what we vote on, but in the policy currently, we have brought up that we would allow current transfer students to continue, but we're not offering that automatic continuation to employee children. So I just wanted to share that I understand the concern, and I think there is a desire for stability in this situation, just like in the others. But my viewpoint is these situations are different. They're admitted for different reasons. Employee enrollment is a benefit tied to employment, and it's not based on grade level capacity, where transfer students are admitted only when we have identified that there's capacity. So I think that this capacity, and we'll talk about it later, this is the key part of this policy. It's very intentional and manageable. And so that's why I feel like we want to treat our employees and their children just as much as any family. But the concern is if we put it all together, we're now risking making loopholes and making it more difficult on balancing the purpose of potentially accepting transfers. So I just wanted to identify, address that concern because I do think it is a valid concern that was brought up.
Okay, George?
Maybe I didn't hear it right. What exactly was the concern?
So we had a community member that sent an email to the board. I think maybe today we've gotten several emails, and had just said, why are we not treating them the same? Like if we're willing to allow current ones to continue enrollment, why aren't we saying this even if an employee moves out?
Language to apply. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion before we vote on this paragraph? Okay, so the motion is to approve the paragraph as corrected. I vote aye. George? Aye. Lawrence? Rachel?
Yes.
UA?
Need to clarification for which particular sentence? Because we
Continuing
are,
eligibility, change in employment status.
oh, okay.
That whole
okay,
paragraph?
Yeah,
Okay, and your vote is,
yes.
okay, Daisha?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, that passes 7-0. Next.
Okay, so this next one is one that we have the option scenario. So for those who are not already in the loop, who are observing this, as a board at our last work session, we developed in places where we did not agree and we had different conceptual positions, we created different options and labeled them as such. So we have option 1, option 2, and option 3 on this. This section deals specifically with the number of or it says without regard, it's continuing transfer students, and it deals specifically with who can transfer and how, and what that is called. So we did have some legal response on this, and this did come back. Our legal counsel responded that both of these options, between 1 and 2, are legally okay. Though I note you wouldn't need to actually articulate option 2 since it is effectively what the process provides, priority given to returning transfers in light of capacity. It is, sorry, I'm trying to follow along on the sidebars here. So with that in mind, I would like to make a motion that the board accept, as the starting point, I would like to make a motion that the board accept option 2 of this policy recommendation.
Okay. And Lauren seconds. Okay, thank you. What's our discussion on this item look like if we're looking at option 2?
For the continuing.
You turned your microphone off. That's okay.
So for the
Yes.
continuing
Under
transfer
continuing
student,
transfer students, Rachel is proposing option 2.
and I agree with Rachel.
Great.
And that's also consistent with all the feedback I collected so far. And also what we got a lot of emails. I counted almost 20, and overwhelmingly people support 2 or reject 1. And also I surveyed the community and over the weekend, and I heard back from more than 100 residents. And I also I knock on doors randomly in different neighborhoods. And I'm kind of surprised that people are they pretty much agree on option 2. And in addition, I surveyed other districts' policy on this issue. So far, none of the districts actually has something like option 1. So that's create a lot of liability for us. And I feel that can be risky to promise something. And for 2, I frankly speaking, I feel with the current number and the current current transfer student may not be too worried about it, but I just feel from our perspective, we should protect us. We shouldn't overpromise anything because we promised our residents that we will keep enrollment cap, we will keep the small class size. Sometimes we just cannot promise too many things simultaneously because sometimes they will create some conflict in reality. So yeah, I guess for time concern, if unnecessary, I'm not going to report the stats I collected or the feedback I received, but that's, yeah, again, I agree with Rachel's proposal. Thanks.
Great. It's wonderful when we're unified. David, what do you have to say?
If we were to adopt number 2, would that mean that for the current 7th graders, we would have to remove all of the students who are transfers? Because we're currently at 211 with 14 TSC transfers, and recommended capacity is 192. So if we pass this, that would mean that we would have to remove all transfers in the current 7th grade class.
We also would need to remove 1 from the current 10th grade class. Those are the 2 grades that are over capacity.
Rachel?
I do have concern with that, and because this policy has come about while these students are here and in our care and our education. So I would like for this to, any students who are currently enrolled to be kind of, I don't know if grandfathered is the right word, but be an exception to this.
Okay. Would we have to put that in the policy as well?
We would need to check with legal counsel and make
Okay.
sure that we can go above and beyond for those sections and simply not have those grade levels open, but not necessarily turn them away.
Okay.
George? May I?
George was first. Go ahead.
So I understand the concern, but nothing in that language in option 2 requires us to remove anyone. It just says it's not guaranteed. There's nothing in the language that says that we're going to be removing people.
Okay.
Now, what this does though, is in the future, if a board or an administration does decide to start removing people, this option does give them the ability to do so. And so that's something I think we also need to be careful about. And if this is really the future that you want, then we can go with it. But be careful what you're writing.
And legal counsel did suggest that boards can go above and beyond, but you can't go less. So I think you can close, and we can verify that with legal counsel. But I don't think you have to turn them away. I think that you would close. You couldn't accept additional ones, but I don't think you would be required to turn them away.
And to be clear for the people playing along at home, we mean close those 2 grades to additional transfer students, not close everything. Okay. Yue, go ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate what George and Sean said. That's very helpful, and because that will make me worried too. And but just to share what I learned from my door knock on door visit. Actually, one parent told me that she used to transfer her kid to our district like many years ago. And at that time, Rocky basically every year gave her a warning that, okay, I'll take your child this year, but it's not guaranteed. So it's just it's kind of like our option 2. It's the district can decide, but we just cannot overpromise. So that's also the reason that community member moved in eventually, because she didn't like that uncertainty. So our community asked us to provide an incentive for people to live here and move here, or don't move out. And I think the 2 will give people the incentive to stay with us and join us. And thanks.
Lawrence?
Yes, I'm just want to share this. Our policy say make a reasonable effort. I think that's from policymaking's point of view, that's pretty good language. So we give our administrations enough flexibilities and autonomies when they run the day-to-day operations. So from my understanding, the high school have a little bit more flexibility to handle actual student. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chad is there. So that's my understanding. So. So I think this policy language is pretty, and from policymaking's point of view, is good. And we also, we keep the idea in the policy, and also we give the administration team, the principals, their flexibility to handle these kind of capacity issues. Thank you.
Okay. Daisha?
Okay, so just to make sure I understand, what we're saying is this year, if we have 2 grade levels that are above capacity, those transfer students are allowed to stay. But when we're in the same boat, per se, next year, if we had a grade level, not those 2 grade levels, that were above capacity, then those students would not be allowed to continue. Is that what I'm understanding from this option 2?
I believe that it would hold true what we're talking about with the 2 grade levels currently, actually, because at the time that we accepted students moving forward, we wouldn't be at capacity. But if, let's say, we ended up with additional students that were in district, and maybe we were 2 students above in a following year, we wouldn't be required to turn those 2 students away, but we would be required to have that section closed.
But that's what we're doing. So that philosophy is actually number one, option one, because what we're saying right now is if we're above capacity, we don't allow new students. So that's option one. Option two is if we're above capacity, those transfer students, let's just talk about future and not deal with the present right now. Future ones will not be guaranteed spots. So I'm just trying to clarify that they are different options and we can't treat option one and two the same.
If,
that makes sense.
if Dr. Yen, if I misspeak for her, I would prefer that she speak up after I speak. But what I think Dr. Yen is suggesting is that option one guarantees it. So if option two, if you're 2 students over and we've got the capacity and that it's not going to negatively impact learning, we can keep those students, but we can't open the grade level if it's at capacity or above. But let's say 50 students came in and we needed to make a decision that 25 couldn't stay or it was going to negatively impact in-resident students. Working with the board, we would have the ability to quote unquote not guarantee, as Dr. Yen is suggesting, and we could do a lottery system to see who stayed in the district. I'm not suggesting the board would or would not do that, but it gives that flexibility that Dr. Yen is suggesting. If I've misspoken for you, Dr. Yen, please speak up.
Yeah, thank you. I just believe that we cannot overpromise. We cannot even guarantee that we take our district students in the earlier part here. Just nothing is guaranteed. It's just I feel that we will take a reasonable effort to keep students, to have them continue their education here, but we don't guarantee anything. And also, I feel we may speak for the future school board members or future residents, and for this, I don't feel comfortable to say so. And then the option two is also consistent with many other districts I surveyed, and the people say this application, this acceptance is on a yearly basis, and nobody said, oh, we promise that you will, once you are in, you are always in. Thanks. It's just for consistency. I don't think we should make any exception here. And also that I feel that will really frustrate the residents.
George?
So according to the demographic projections we've been getting for the last couple of years, the scenario that we're describing is not likely, where we'll suddenly have 50 kids move in. But in the event that it does, this is exactly the future I was talking about just a second ago. So which one of us on this board is going to volunteer to be the one to draw the names out of the hat to throw some kids out? Dr. Griner, what process would you use and how long would you be able to stay in that process before you decided enough was enough?
The process we would use is the same process that we will use with new students coming in.
Again, that is not a future that I want to contemplate. So surely we can come up with something better than this.
It feels like to me we're not, so if I'm hearing correctly, if we're 2 over capacity, that's acceptable. If we're 50, we're not. That to me is still gray area. If we're over capacity, then that means students aren't allowed to stay. If we're not over capacity, then that means students aren't allowed to stay. So help me understand what I'm not.
I just used the example of 50. It really boils down to the guarantee that Dr. Yen is talking about, that you cannot go less if our capacity is 6 students. Then the lottery, you would take the 6 students up to that point. You cannot go less. But if I'm under, and I will verify this with our legal counsel, if you want to go over to protect those students and we determine it's not going to negatively impact learning, we can keep those students in. And that's the example of the 2 grade levels we have now. There's been nothing negatively impacting from the perspective of our principals impacting learning. In fact, they welcome and would like to keep those students. So we wouldn't turn them away, but if it was negatively impacting because of numbers, you could. And so that just puts into effect the no guarantee that Dr. Yen's talking about.
Rachel?
I just want to reiterate to my fellow board members that legal has stated very specifically that we don't need to actually put anything in here if we're choosing option 2. It's effectively what the process provides that we're hitting later on in this policy, that priority will be giving to returning transfers in light of capacity. So this entire section actually could just disappear in this part. I think it is agreeable to leave option 2 in there as just as clarifying language, but in the future, anybody in policy would need to be mindful of a total revamp. If one of those things changes, it'd have to go back and also change this redundant language. Again, I don't think it's bad to have redundant language in this, but keep in mind it's not necessary what we're haggling over right now.
Okay, Yue?
Can I say one more thing? The other, sorry, you didn't see
No,
me.
go
but,
ahead, sorry.
If we find legal counsel suggests that I did misinterpret, the other thing you can do is what legal counsel had said, if you were going to completely close, but keep the students until they work themselves through the system, you could say in the grade levels where we're above capacity now with the new numbers, until they've worked themselves through the system, those grade levels, the board could guarantee those students by simply saying the capacity for, I'm going to make a grade level up, 12th grade, that we're 12 over. So if instead of it being 192, it's 192 plus 12, that's what we could report to the state as our grade level capacity that year for that grade. The law really is trying to give the board discretion and give the board the ability to accept transfers, but while also doing it through a fair process. So there's a way to address it. And then from there, we could work to ensure that we are working hard to stay at capacity moving forward once we were at numbers the board was comfortable with. And of course, those capacity numbers can change from year to year, as we suggested through the review of the data when we come together with Mr. Reuter and the administrative team and we discuss numbers with the board.
Yue?
To follow up with Rachel's comments, and which is also the legal counsel's suggestion, and I heard from a community member who happens to be a lawyer, and that person told me, I don't think you need this section at all for continuing students, because you already said in the later part that everybody need to apply every year, and it's subject to capacity. And the continuing transfer students has the first priority to get enrolled. So that covers what we are saying here for this whole continuing part. And again, I checked other school districts. Many of them actually don't talk about continuing students. Just everybody need to apply every year. And I believe they also make a reasonable effort to keep those students. And everybody wants students to be successful. And so just there's no doubt.
So would someone like to move to strike this whole? Amend the motion, Rachel, what are you amending to?
I'm going to make a motion to remove option 1, 2, and 3.
Can I interrupt? Point of
Oh,
order.
sure, go
I had my
ahead.
hand up for discussion. I know you can't.
I'm sorry.
easily see me, but,
No, I glanced over, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
I don't think it's a good idea to remove this because then it leaves a lot of ambiguity. I also think that if we accept option 2, that causes a lot of challenges for us in defining what is capacity and having to change capacity, especially if we do end up leaving capacity numbers in the policy itself. I also think that if we admit a transfer student, we are largely making a commitment to them that we should allow them to stay, especially the students who we already have in the school district. So I think that with option 2, that may give us more problems than what we want. What I think when we're at capacity or over capacity, what that should mean is that we are not going to take new transfer students into that grade. I think going beyond that and potentially removing students is problematic. When would we remove them? If we go over capacity the day before the first day of school, would we then remove an existing transfer student on that day? I mean, that's what the policy would potentially suggest. So I don't recommend that we go in this direction.
So,
I'm still going to amend my motion, please, that we strike options 1, 2, and 3. So we'll strike all of the continuing transfer students. Yep.
okay. And Lawrence, you're seconding that? Okay. Discussion on striking this whole redundant section, Daisha.
So if this section is cut out, what our policy currently says is if we are above capacity, which currently we are in 2 grade levels, we will be doing a lottery with our current transfer students to determine who takes those final seats. So I'm just clarifying, that is what our policy then says. It feels like I'm hearing people that say, and I don't want to guarantee anyone, fair point. I don't want to kick out any new transfer students we take, but we're going to follow what we've written about capacity and available seats, and we cannot have our policy written the way it is and follow this mindset.
That's a good point.
Okay. Yue.
In that case, can we then go for option 3? Basically, it says for the current one, we keep them, but for the future, there's no guarantee. But yeah, actually, I'll take back what I said, because I feel that's still a lot of guarantee. I don't like guarantee in general, because that's too much responsibility. I'll take it back.
Short
I will
declarative sentences make this a lot easier for me. So you're
yeah.
not moving anything right now?
Well,
Okay.
I can go either remove the whole section for the continuing students or keep option 2. So that's either way, I'm okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Mrs. Austin,
Yo.
the board, I don't think has yet addressed capacity.
No, we haven't.
The board has not yet addressed capacity to know if you would be over capacity or not.
Good point.
Can we set this one aside, go to capacity and double back?
Yes, yes. Let's move to, is that tabling or is that the other one? We'll move to table this
Table
question.
goes to the next meeting, so we're
Oh,
just going to
we're gonna postpone then.
postpone this one.
Postpone this part, and we're gonna move on.
We're going to go do capacity and double back to this one
Okay,
Yes.
yes.
in the same meeting.
This is why we do this in committee. Right? Okay, so we're moving to B, capacity, ADM count, and available transfer seats. Is that
Right,
right?
so this one, there's a lot of moving parts. So the first vote that I think that we need to take is whether or not we include the table or a link to the table. So the table we're talking about is the capacity table by grade. And as I understand it, the differentiation between that is if we link the specific capacity table inside of the policy, it would be a dual vote in order to change those numbers by the board. Where if we put a link to it, then we put our intent and we put a link to it, it is not 2 votes in front of the board to be able to adjust it. So I am going to make a motion that we put a link to the table inside of the policy so that the community can still look at the detail and be informed, but so that our administration has a little bit of flexibility with some expediency. So I'm going to make that first thing. This is just on table or not to table. I'm making a motion to put a link on the table.
And we're not gonna table the table.
We're not tabling the table.
Because that would just, okay, and George, okay, the current discussion is, are we or are we not going to put the table in the policy? Who has things to say?
Rachel motion is put.
Yeah, Rachel moved, George seconded, now we're talking about that specific small part only. Right, the link of the table. Anyone have words? Go ahead.
I think a link is prudent because it allows everyone to know exactly what the numbers are without binding us to a procedure that will require us to have multiple readings and multiple votes to change those numbers when we have to.
I agree. Lawrence?
Yeah, I think, if I understand correctly, one thing need to be clarified is if we put this table on the link, and whenever the administration team will change that, we both need to approve that, so that's really one vote. Is
One
that
vote
correct,
instead of 2. Yeah.
Dr. Griner?
That is correct, Mr. Wong.
Yeah, so that's my understanding. One vote worse, two vote. So
Yep.
that's, I tried to clarify it, so.
Okay. You guys, David, do you have anything to talk about on this part? Nope. I just didn't want to ignore you again.
No, I'm good on this one.
Okay, Daisha, go ahead.
So I actually feel pretty strongly that the capacity chart should be included in the policy. The capacity is what's determining our transfer seats. And so this is, once that capacity is in place, it's providing that stability and predictability to our teachers to know what class size is. It helps the community understand what it is. If we were to make any changes, it would be very clear to the community we're making changes if it goes through a 2-reading policy. This should be adjustments, like the timeline is if ever capacity numbers need to be adjusted, that can happen between kind of the budget meeting and finalizing the March deadline. So there's plenty of time to have 2 readings, and changing capacity could potentially cut classes, cut sections, and have a direct impact on our staffing, the working conditions, our kids. So I think something at this level should go through the policy process and take 2 readings so that the community is well-informed of why capacity needs to change, how that will affect potentially transfers, teachers, class sizes, and then we do a vote follow-up with that. To me, that is not something that just kind of happens behind the scenes and then it is in the board packet and it's all done with that.
Okay, George?
I understand that concern, but part of the reason that is a little bit unwieldy is because the very first sentence is the superintendent or designee shall annually calculate the available transfer seats and present the non-resident enrollment notes to the board at or before the March meeting. So they've got to do work on this constantly, even though they're only going to present it to us in March. And so I think there's still a lot of public notice if we have 1 vote rather than 2. And it gives the administrative team time, flexibility, and honestly a little less pressure to make sure that the numbers are what we need them to be.
Okay, any other discussion, UA?
I agree with George.
Okay, neat. Anybody else? Okay, let's vote. David, we're voting on a link to the policy, or the capacity table, rather than having the table in the policy itself.
Let me,
Oh,
I vote yes. from the
okay,
link.
hang on, I should have read this, I scrolled down, actually Lawrence provided some specific language, so let me read the language, it would actually appear in the
Sure.
policy.
cool.
A link to capacity.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. A link to capacity shall be posted on the corporation website and updated annually. Any changes shall be recommended by the superintendent and approved by the board. The link to capacity information is included in this policy for reference. Insert link here.
Okay, and David, does that change your vote at all?
That's only requiring 1 vote for us
Yes.
to
Yeah,
change that?
right.
Okay, then yes.
Okay, Daisha? No. UA?
Yes.
Rachel?
Yes.
For the link,
Lawrence?
The link. We're voting on the link.
Lawrence? George?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So we're going to put a link and pass this 6-1. Oops.
Okay, so the next one is one we probably had the biggest amount of diverse opinion or passion behind those opinions. We're dealing with available transfer seats may further be limited so as not to exceed the maximum enrollment. The decision for determining capacity, option 1, by grade level capacity, option 2, by grade level capacity or district capacity, and option 3, by grade level capacity, district capacity, or total transfer capacity. This is something where our administration has clearly recommended and prepared for option 2, and so that is my motion, that the language of the policy will read, the decision for determining capacity is by grade level capacity or district capacity.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by
Second.
David? Okay. Any discussion on this item?
I proposed to the option 3 and add the total transfer capacity, or in other words, the total number of transfer students. And by the way, I wonder whether we should use and instead of or to connect the different limits. And the reason is So just if we don't set a cap for transfer capacity, transfer total number of transfers, so we may have more and more transfer students and more people who don't move in or move out and become transfer students. And maybe we don't reach the total capacity or the greater capacity, but we will have fewer resident students, which will create a problem. And for tax in the future, also just practically, the pickup drop-off lines will get longer and longer. The hills and the dales become a parking lot for students. And just, I don't think that's sustainable. And so I believe it's very important we set a cap for transfers. It's just like in many neighborhoods, they set up a cap for the total rental unit. It's quite common. It's just and we can decide where to set up the cap, but I believe we should have a cap.
Are you making a motion?
Yes, I move to take option 3.
Okay. Yui moves option 3. Is there a second? Okay. So now we're talking about option 3. What would you like to say about that, Lawrence? Anything?
I think on top of grade levels cap and also total cooperation cap plus the transfer cap, it will help us to manage the transfer students. So it's kind of we have more flexibility to handle these transfer student issues. So that's my that's why I think that makes sense to me. Thank you.
Okay. David, were you trying to get my attention?
Yeah, Lawrence, when you speak, you mind speaking towards the microphone? Otherwise, I can't hear you. When you turned to Amy, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You want me to say that again?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, please.
Yes, because I think include the total transfer student cap makes sense to me because that will help us, the school, to manage the so-called limited open school district. So we can make that under our, we have more, because right now we don't need to cooperate with TSC or other school corporations. We are totally make the decision, so we have the flexibility to handle these transfer students. I think that's the pro for this approach. Thank you.
Rachel?
The compelling argument for me on option 2 and why I would discourage the passing of option 3 is that our administration, who are charged with implementing this policy in the day-to-day work, have recommended option 2 as the one that will give them appropriate flexibility versus rigidity. And so I'm going to believe the professional educators in the room, and I want to remind everyone that passing 3 will require them to go back and rework all of the information that they have provided for us previously on option 2. So if they thought option 3 was viable, and I don't want to put words in Dr. Griner's mouth, but if they thought option 3 were ideal, they certainly would have chosen to do that supporting work in preparation for this meeting.
Okay. George?
You know, in all the discussion we've had about option 3, I've never heard anyone specifically say a number that they had in mind. So does anyone have a specific transfer student cap in mind that they want to enforce as a part of option 3?
Yui, this is your motion, so go ahead.
Yeah, in one of my emails, I said maybe I sent too many emails, so you missed it, that's okay. And I think I said currently we have 158, and also last month I saw number 140 something for the current one after the senior graduate. And so I feel we can set up a number around that. For example, let's say 160, it's still about what we have right now. And just to give the administrator some flexibility and space. And another thing is, as we all know, from 2021 to now, our transfer number keep going up and the resident number keep going down. So that's not a good trend for us to have sustainability in the district. And as I said, when people move out and transfer in, that doesn't change the enrollment, but we lose resident. And that's very scary. For a long time, we have been saying we don't have enough houses in the district for families due to the landlocked. But it's so common that when people move out, and many of the houses are converted to rental properties. And we are losing more houses for families. And I am really worried that it will become non-reversible. And also from the survey I collected from the community, more than half of the community members actually voted for option 3. That's what the people want. At least, if you have other survey result, and I'm happy to see it, but from what I learned so far, and that's what the people want. And again, you can set up the transfer number fairly high, but I believe we need that number because it cannot go nonstop.
Okay, Daisha, and then Rachel, and then George again.
So I agree that we need to have a total transfer. I would like to see it a percentage, not a number, and I'll explain that and then adjust the emotion. But I don't think that it's unreasonable at this point in the policy to add that third item. It won't change anything. There's nothing that administration needs to do. My view is that we don't want to become a commuter school. And when we take a number and put it there, it helps the community very clearly see this is the amount that we're willing to take of transfer students. And if we feel like it needs to go above that, we need to look at our policy. My view, though, is I don't want a number where it's like, I don't know, where do you get that number from? Why did you pick that number versus another? I like the idea of having a total transfer percentage. And so if it's decided to have this maximum enrollment, you just take a percentage of that, and that's the max number of transfer students. So when I ran the numbers, if we were to do 7% of 2320, which is what the current one is, that would be 162 students. So I would like to amend Dr. Yin's.
I don't think you can amend someone
Or
else's.
how do I say
think you
that?
need to make a new motion.
Can I make a motion to change option 3 to say total transfer percentage of 7%? 7% for option, add that to option 3.
Oh, we know how much I love embedded motions. Is there a second on that one? Okay, Yui seconds. Is there discussion on setting a percentage? Go ahead, George.
Yeah, so we've been doing a lot of future casting in this discussion, and if we're talking about the risk of people moving out, if we're setting up a policy where transfer places are not guaranteed, and if people move out, presumably that opens up houses for people to then move in. So people that move out do run the risk of getting placed out of the school district because someone else came in, bought their former house, and is now taking their spot. So I personally think that that's a problem that solves itself. And matter of fact, it may help because then we'll have more houses for sale in the community.
Okay, Rachel.
This is just a general comment related to this entire section of the conversation. Dr. Yin keeps mentioning her community survey. So I just want the people in our community to know I did not receive an invitation to this survey and did not have access to it. And I'm certain that Dr. Yin has my contact information. And I caution against the use or calling this a community survey. It is clearly not a community survey if not everyone in the community has access to participate in it. Perhaps it should just be called the ex-neighborhood survey, but I think it's very misleading and in fact, it's fairly insulting. I'm somewhat offended that I'm not considered to be part of the community. And I wouldn't want any of our other community members to feel like they are somehow less than or not important to Dr. Yin's data gathering. So I just want to be clear in saying that community is a very subjective term in its use in our meeting here tonight.
I didn't get it either.
I'm glad I wasn't the only one left out.
Daisha?
Back to my motion, I think putting a percentage also incentivizes administration to get more residents to attend our schools, because if our resident numbers increase and we're 7%, there's a couple more transfer students the administration can bring in. So I think it gives a positive message to our community, very clear what percentage are we willing to stop at bringing in transfer students. It also gives a great incentive to our administration to get more residents in the seats, which is what we want, and then potential of that. So that's why I feel like this is important.
David?
I am not sure that we need to have a number or percentage for this. For the other caps, we have very clear reasoning why we have specific caps for grade level and for total capacity. They're based off of roughly how many students per class, per grade, at least at the elementary schools. When we go and further limit the transfer students, based off of an arbitrary transfer student cap number, that then also limits our ability to balance grades, which I think is one of the really key things that we're trying to do here, is not have one grade where we have 7 classes and another grade where we have 8, so that teachers then have to either change grades or somebody or things like that. I think that the grade level caps that go along with a total overall cap makes much more sense for us than adding in an arbitrary total transfer cap. I mean, it could be 100 for a total transfer cap, or it could be 200, but a specific number or even percentage at the moment doesn't make sense to me. It's also something that we can always come back to later if we do feel like the transfer numbers have started to increase too much. Then we could go back and add in a cap and modify the policy. But I don't think it's right to do right now.
Sorry, thank you. Yue, go ahead.
So without this number, right now, for example, our 6th grader is it's a smaller group, much smaller than the cap we specified. So that means it's actually safe for the people in this grade to move out and transfer back in, because it's unlikely for this grade to reach the capacity level. And if they move out and move back, that will not impact the total capacity either. So basically, for any grades that they have a smaller enrollment, it's okay for those people to move out and transfer back in. It's fairly safe, I would say. And actually, I already witnessed that many community members and moved out and transfer back their case. And just based on my first-handed data, and I asked for the data from the district, and sounds like it's difficult to get, but I see that can be a trend. Also, if, let's say, a new family come and their kids will join the 6th grade, and right now there's no incentive for them to buy a house in our district, because that grade has a very, very low enrollment. And so we don't encourage people to move in. And however, if we have a total transfers, we are going to reach that transfer. That means, okay, even if we don't reach the capacity for that grade, don't reach the capacity for the whole district, people need to move in order to come to join our school. It matters.
Here's how we're going to do these votes. The first vote is going to be on the motion to change option 3 to say 7% or not. The second vote is going to be on whether or not to accept option 3. And then the third vote, moving backwards, will be whether or not to accept option 2 if option 3 is not accepted. Everybody clear? Cool. Okay, so vote number 1, we are, what? Sorry.
May I just ask if we are going to, so the 3 has 2 options. One is a percentage, the other is a total number,
Yep,
right?
let me repeat what I said.
Yes, but I haven't heard from the administrator regarding if we do the number 3, do they like a number or percentage? And because I'm okay with either
Well,
way, but I will like to honor what the administrator prefer.
The motion was for 7%. So if you would like to weigh in on 7%?
7% is equivalent to 162 maximum.
Okay.
Our preference is option 2 in general. And so if the board votes on something else, our team is going to work to ensure that we can do the best we can to keep funding, revenue, and class sizes and programs consistent. But
Thank you.
our option would remain option 2. We've talked about that even in the summer. So, and we've certainly been inclusive, included our administrators, even at the building level.
Okay. Yue?
I wonder, can someone propose a solution for what the problem I propose? For example, in a case when somebody have a case who will enroll our 6th grade, they don't have to live here, basically, because we are short of students for 6th grade. And I'm pretty sure, based on the data we have recently.
I'm not sure that it's appropriate for us to try to govern at the level of the children who may or may not move in to 6th grade. I
It's
think
not, because people ask us to provide an incentive for people to move in, not
I'd like
move
to call the
out.
question, please.
Okay. The question is the percentage of 7% in option 3. We'll take it this way. I say no, I do not want to change it to have a specific percentage. George?
No.
Lawrence? Rachel?
No.
Yue?
Yes.
Daisha? Yes. David?
No.
Okay, so that does not pass. The next item is the option 3 to be accepted. So we.
I could clarify.
Sure.
Just for those listening, this is getting a little confusing, and I know you can't see it. What we're voting on now is option 3, which states, decision for determining capacity by grade level capacity, district capacity, or total transfer capacity. That's the vote right now.
Right. So a yes vote means you want that to be adopted into the policy, and a no vote means you do not want that to be adopted into the policy. We'll go the other way. David?
Sorry, the mute button's in a different place than Zoom. I vote no.
Okay. Daisha? Yes. Yue? Rachel?
No.
Lawrence? George?
No.
I vote no, so that one also does not pass. So now we're back to option 2, which is the recommendation of our administration. Is there any further discussion before I call this vote?
Just want to say that the language here is decision for determining capacity by grade level capacity or district capacity. That is the language we're voting on.
Cool. Okay. I vote yes. George?
Yes.
Lawrence? Rachel?
Yes.
Yue?
I have a clarification, and so should we say all or and?
It's as it's written in the policy right now.
Means operational wise, so how to, let's say, when we admit a student, it reach the grade level capacity, but not the district capacity.
All right, we're voting. So we've already passed it with these 4 votes. Would you like to vote or?
No.
No. Okay, thank you. Daisha, your vote? Yes. David?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, that is 6-1 to pass. Okay, Rachel, where are we? Why don't we take a minute? Can we take a little quick break?
Let's take a break.
That'd be great. I'd love that. Thank
Okay.
you. We'll take 5 minutes and come back.
Daisha, could you look at this?
At 7:55, and we are continuing C-125. We have just passed option 2 under section little b there. And now it looks like we have some green language to deal with.
Right, well, so the next section that we're going to is, it's kind of out of alignment where you're looking, but the table vote was in here twice, actually, so it's here and that was up above. We've already resolved the table vote.
Hang on, we have double audio for a second. Oh, no, it's me. Okay, we're better. Sorry about that, everyone.
Amy in my ear. Okay, so the next section that we are on in this policy is under the heading Decision for Capacity. So in that, we have 2 options currently listed. Option 1 is our administration recommendation, and it deals with the link in there. This language is repeated in there, but the new language here is this: capacity for each grade level shall be indicated in the linked table available on the WLCSC website. Insert link here. Transfer applications shall be considered starting with the kindergarten class and move to each subsequent grade level, first, second, third, etc. Except as where prescribed by law, no other transfer students will be admitted if the grade level capacity is reached or if the total corporation enrollment would exceed 2,320 students through the admission of transfer students. So this is kind of the follow-up specifics to what we just agreed upon. And that's option 1, and my motion is to approve option 1 on decision for capacity.
Okay, I have a question. Since we decided to put a link out to the table is not included in your motion. It's simply the
It is
this
just the
paragraph above it.
language.
Okay,
That's correct, not the
Just-
table itself. But the table information is there for board members to review as we are looking at it, yes.
great, thank you. Is there a second? Well, George?
One of us.
One of you, okay. All right, any discussion on that language? Go ahead, Daisha.
So the first point is my recommendations for option 2 was actually sent before that was in my original revisions, and then administration came back with these. So I'm actually fine with what administration came back with our capacity.
Great.
But I do have a question. If this is approved, we're approving this paragraph to be included in the policy plus these capacity numbers. Is that what I'm understanding? Because my understanding is the board does vote on the capacity. And so even though the table won't be included in the policy itself, this is that table would be the link. And so the board is approving that. And at this point,
Yeah, since there's no
It includes
dispute,
2.
if you are happy with these numbers, then we can go ahead and include that in the motion. I'd be fine with that. Is that Rachel amending?
Yeah, no, it just is Daisha's right, I didn't speak correctly on this. It is approving the paragraph that would appear in the policy, but the table is there for our review, and that would be the content that we are approving on the linked table. And so it is both things in that vote.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. In that case, David, can we start with you?
Yes.
Daisha?
Yes, you can start, and I vote yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was sneaky, wasn't it? Okay, David votes yes. Daisha? Yue? Rachel? Yes. Lawrence? George?
Yes.
Amy, yes. Okay, that passes. Wonderful. Thank you for that. The next item is purple?
So it's transfer applications and student priority. Item number 1 on there is highlighted, continuing or current transfer students having completed the prior school year in the district will have the first priority enrollment. David had made a comment here, if we vote to retain all continuing transfer students, this needs to be deleted.
Okay. So we need to delete that.
Well,
We
no.
didn't vote the earlier one.
I think, so I'm a little bit unclear, and so I was hoping to maybe ask David to explain what he thinks should happen with this particular item, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about that. As we talked about last week at the meeting, if we if we choose option one earlier, where we say that transfer students that we'll keep transfer students or without regard to total capacity, we'll keep transfer students, then this sentence here becomes unnecessary. However, if we vote on option two or option three earlier, then we have to include this. So this is dependent on what we decide on the vote that we didn't table but put on the counter.
Right, okay, so it sounds like it's time to circle back to that part. So we're going back up to page 1, 2, where are we?
Section E.
We are on, yeah,
Section E, page 3 and 4, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so do the motions from before, no, let's just do new motions because otherwise it's confusing. So Rachel, am I understanding that you are still moving option 1? Is that where we're at with the, or, I'm
I
sorry,
moved-
option 2, good
right.
lord.
I would like to make a motion to approve option 2, please.
Okay, is there a second? Thanks, Lawrence. Okay, is there discussion? Daisha, go ahead.
So before even deciding how to vote or where to vote, I want to understand, I want to make sure I'm understanding. If we approve option 2, what we're saying is some of the students in 7th grade and 10th grade will not continue next year. And I just want to make sure we're all clear on what this is saying before we discuss.
So in my mind, that is not what it's saying. It's not guaranteed, but the administration will make, so we can go above the policy. Is that I understand it? So this would not boot those students, from my interpretation. I'll let Dr. Greiner hit this one, but it wouldn't boot those. It would just say that it is not guaranteed. So is that how you're interpreting it, Dr. Greiner?
Yes, and I did text our attorney back when the discussion was, I just hadn't had it yet, and I do have it now. So I was waiting until this discussion. And I had said option 2 would not require us to send students over capacity away. It would just require us to accept additional students if above capacity, correct? Or would require us not to accept additional students if above capacity, correct? And her response was, correct, that's how I read it. So her interpretation of the law is that it wouldn't, and what you're putting in policy, is that it wouldn't require us to turn them away, but it would require us to close the district. And if you go down and look at the
Close the district or the grade?
the grade. If you go down and look at the capacity table that you just accepted, you can see that that's consistent too with that.
Okay, so I know, in some ways, I know I'm repeating myself because this isn't making sense. So option 1, that grade is closed because it's above capacity. Option 2, we're saying that grade is closed because we're at a capacity and we're letting, I'm saying we have this gray area, and that's, in my view, what we don't want in a policy. I don't want a policy that says randomly, it's sort of, the superintendent decides every year, do we keep so currently we have 19 extra students above capacity in 7th grade. So then it just is random if the superintendent says 19 students stays. Sometimes it's 1 student stays, sometimes 50. I think if this is what we want, it has to be very clear when we keep those additional transfer students and when we don't, and not have it this gray area. That's what causes the most stress on these families, and also I think discourages them from being a part of our community because they can't speak up, they can't, they're scared of their spot, and so they're very cautious. But if it's very black and white, if we're above 5 capacity, we're keeping them, or if we're, right now we have to say something. We can't just not say anything because it's not answering what we need to do when we're above.
Right. I think Dr. Purpura is going to want to speak because he had his hand up. But I do want to say, Mrs. Munford, first of all, I hear what you're saying and respect it very much because I'm not one that wants to be the one turning students away. So it would be something that the board and administration would discuss if we were ever in that situation. The way I am interpreting this and what I gathered from legal counsel is that the black and white component is clearly if we are above in a grade level, we are closed to that grade level. So we are not accepting any other students.
Any new
Correct.
transfer students.
Did I say that
But
incorrectly?
that's same option 1 and option 2. So that's, I mean, that I don't think is a debate
Okay.
on
Let's see
either
what
of those.
David,
If that makes sense.
Did that help to clarify? But let's see what David says, and then I will further clarify if, yeah.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I do think that option 1 and option 2 are different. I think that option 2 leaves a lot of gray area, like Daisha had said, of sometimes we might let them stay if we're over capacity, and sometimes we might not. I don't think that that's an okay space to be in. I think that right now, the being 19 over capacity is not something that we will see in the long term once we implement this policy. I think right now we have a couple grades that are higher because just the way transfers happened in prior years, right? When we allow new students to transfer in the future, it will only be in grades that are below capacity, and we're not going to have an influx of 10 or 15 kids into one grade in the future. But making it clear that the kids who do transfer in aren't going to be just told that they can't come back at the last minute, I think is really important to make sure that that isn't there. But option 1 does give us the leeway as a board to make a decision that we see over the past few years, this grade has had an increase of 10 or 15 kids. So for next year, we're going to have to say that we're going to reduce that grade level because we're saying that we can change our policy about allowing them to stay. But then that requires us to do that over 2 meetings and be very clear and transparent about it. Whereas option 2, I think, leaves a lot of gray area that isn't as clear, and it leaves a lot of stress for a lot of families.
George?
So part of the determination in all this will be the numbers that you and your team bring to us in March, right?
Well, aren't these the numbers?
I mean, in subsequent years.
Correct.
So if we're going to have some projections available before we approve what we're going to allow in the fall, doesn't that take care of itself?
So when we come to March, what happens is we have the capacity numbers that we approved. Then we get the ADM numbers that tells us what things look like. The question is, what happens when our ADM numbers say we're above capacity? We don't make any decisions with our residents. They're still welcome in. It's what are we doing with our current transfer students? I think it's very clear to me that everybody agrees if we're above capacity, we're not taking new transfer students in that grade. The question is, when are we telling so option 2 to me isn't matching what anything I've heard from the community. They're saying we don't want transfer students to be able to be guaranteed to come back. Yet we're saying we're going to approve transfer option 2, and we're just going to let all these stay, and maybe 1 year we'll decide not to if it's a certain number. And that's what I'm saying is I just want it very, like 50, I get was a random number, but it's like, why was 50 the number that you wouldn't bring back instead of 30 or 10? Or I just want the policy to be very clear, is that point.
I hear you. And I really appreciate both Dr. Purpura and you, Mrs. Mumford, in that you don't want people stressed. So I hear that loud and clear. I will assure you, we've never turned away a current transfer student because of numbers. So I don't see that as happening. But we have said that we couldn't accept students at a certain grade level. And go ahead,
That was the
sorry.
pushback I thought we're getting from the community is we're not wanting to say, if you're a transfer student, you're just committed. And this, to me, is also, and nothing against you, is the policy is in place, so it's very black and white to the community, to the board, to the administration, how we handle it, not on the whim of the administrator. And I'm not saying that you have a history of doing it, but I don't want anything gray area of this year we decided to keep them all, but next year, for whatever reason, we're going to not, these, like right now we're above 19. We're going to say this year we're fine. Next year, we're going to say all 19 of you are gone. And it's like, whoa, 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 why did you make one decision versus another?
Right. And no offense taken, by the way, because I hear what you're saying. I totally understand the points that you're making. So from the perspective of administration, we are comfortable with either one because we're not intending to turn people away unless we had like 50. It'd be a wonderful problem if we just couldn't keep our building was so full because we had housing somehow, new housing. Administration is fine with one or two. Legal counsel would tell the board that, number one, the guarantee is not necessary and you can still keep the students. But you can have number one if you want to have it in there. That's what I've seen from legal counsel's advice is either one works, but it's not a requirement that you keep students in if you're above capacity. So you don't have to put that in there. And it doesn't mean that you have to turn those students away either. It just means one or two, you're not going to accept new students. So the board, we're not going to sweat it, whichever one you as a board determines. It's not going to, I don't think it changes anything for us really. And honestly, you're going as a board to visit this policy every year anyway. So one or two works. You've heard legal's perspective, and it really boils down to what do you as a board want to accept?
George and then Rachel, please.
So what you described in the scenario where we have the ability to accept overcapacity 1 year and then put them all aside the next, that kind of does sound like what the community members you've been talking to do want, because if they want the ability to remove students at will, that's exactly what that is.
Right. And so what I'm saying is what's being said and these aren't lining up. Like right here in our policy, it says all transfer requests will be reviewed annually, subject to available transfer seats. If there's options of seats open, number one will prioritize current transfer students. That means that means those 2 grade levels this year will not all be allowed to continue. That's what our policy says. So that's why I'm saying these are conflicting statements and we've got to correct it somewhere. And we can't have it all.
Okay, Rachel, then Yue, then David.
It's been very helpful hearing everybody's opinion on this. Dr. Greiner, I hear you're saying that you can live with either of these. It doesn't change what you're going to be doing. Is it still your recommendation that we go with option 2 based on the advice of legal counsel?
I'm saying that because I typically am consistent with legal counsel. This is an item the board would need to decide.
Okay. Along those lines, then, I would like to amend my motion. This is weird when I have to make the motion and then say what my opinion is, but I'd like to amend my motion. I'd like to move that we vote on the language on option 1, please.
I don't know how to continue this conversation because I was going to comment on what Desha said earlier regarding the cap and the conflict between the cap setup and that we are not going to make the current transfer students do lottery to decide who to stay. I think one solution can be that when we set up the cap for certain grades, we don't need to make them even for all the grades. And for the grades, the 2 grades that we have more students than the cap on the paper, we can adjust those cap. It's reasonable because, and given the larger enrollment for those grades, I believe that the school already made adjustment, for example, assign teachers and make a lot of arrangement there. Essentially, we have a bigger cap for those 2 grades. And so we don't have to artificially make all grades even. And in that way, we keep the cap, and we keep a policy 2. Really, the option 2. The option 2 is what, this is what I heard from the many people, if we don't call it a community, many residents that they vote for it. And you saw yourself from the community emails we received in the past weekend. Actually, I don't know, like more than 90% of the people who emailed us, I have no idea who they are. So really, they are not my friends, I have to say. And so, yeah, I think option 2 is what the residents want, is what our taxpayers want, and we should honor that. And also, I think that gives us a lot of protection. I don't like to overpromise anything that's make us liable for later argument, even lawsuit. People say, hey, you have this policy, that's why I buy the house in other district and I plan to transfer my kids here, then you don't guarantee, and so you need to compensate my loss in this process of the stress you gave me. And we have this policy here. People see it, okay, you still decided to leave outside and transfer in. We said we don't guarantee, and we can take the student this year. As for next year, we look at the cap. That's what other districts are doing. I don't see why we cannot do the same. As Rachel also shared the sample policy from SBA. I didn't see that they mention anything about continuing students either. In fact, we don't even need this whole section. We can remove them.
Okay, is that a motion?
Yes, I move to remove the whole continuing students discussion. We already specified in the policy that every transfer student needs to reapply every year, and the continuing students has a priority. Dr. Greiner also said so far nobody is worried about that they cannot continue. I don't see why we have to overpromise at this time. I feel it's dangerous.
Okay, is there a second to Yui's motion to, okay, Lauren seconds. All right, so now we're moving on to discuss.
If somehow it doesn't work, we can always come back to revisit it. But at this time, when SK is coming, and potentially we can have a lot of residents more than before here, and I don't see why we need to overpromise the transfer option. I just, that doesn't encourage people to move here.
Okay, so right now our conversation is whether or not we should remove the whole section about continuing transfer students. George.
In the future going forward, so right now you said grades 7 and 10 are over capacity, right? That's exactly what I was getting to. So next year, grades 8 and 11 will be closed. And then rolling on, grades 9 and 12 will be closed, right? So that kind of takes care of itself. I hate to complicate your document there, but I do want to offer a motion. I want to offer a motion of my own. I want to move to amend option 2 and kind of create some compromise language to say the corporation shall make any and all reasonable efforts. So that way we're making an effort, but there's still no guarantee.
Okay, if UA rescinds her motion, we can then discuss that. Is that something you want to do? Do you want to unmotion your motion?
Again, either do option 2 or remove the whole thing, I'm okay. So I can be flexible there.
Okay, but right now, our main motion is option 1, so we're getting all screwed up. The embedded motions kill me. Okay, let's go ahead and vote on whether or not we should just remove the whole situation. And then if that does not pass, then we'll return to an original motion about option 1 or 2.
No better idea. I just think it's important to clarify for people listening, the draft policy that Dr. Yin is referencing is policy and advice that was given to us by legal counsel at the Indiana School Board Association when they reviewed our draft. Their kind of base policy that they give on this particular one is 3 pages long. Ours is in the neighborhood of 10. And the legal counsel's opinion on this from the ISBA was that we were really saying a whole lot of things that were not necessary. So in reality, the majority of this policy does not need to exist. It's covered by Indiana law. And so my point to you is, we have, as a board, gone through a very labor-intensive and tedious process. And at this point, going back to a model that says we're 3 pages long, bare bones, while that is my default preference on this, I think we've gone too far. So if we start eliminating a whole section at this point, there are other sections and other kind of cadence of the policy that are impacted. So my recommendation, though in an ideal world, we would have the 3-page policy and I would be thrilled, I think we just need to hold this one steady for now, and that's my opinion.
Okay. You make a motion, I'm gonna flip it.
I will.
My mic was off for that.
I think it's interesting. What I'm hearing is the same message of we want to allow the transfer students to stay. So
Yes.
Dr. Yin sharing, let's change the capacity numbers so we allow them to stay. Okay, so the point is, I think that's what I'm struggling with is community members have, I think we got 12 community members that emailed us this weekend that said, we do not want current transfer students to be allowed to stay. We want them to take that risk. Now, I understand that's just 12, but I'm saying adopting number 2 and then messing with capacity numbers so we keep all those transfer students in isn't changing anything from option 1 and 2. My view is the point of this policy is to put a capacity in place that we hopefully are not going to have to play with. It's the ideal numbers. If we go over, we don't take new ones. If we don't go over, we could up to a certain point. Changing those numbers year by year and saying, well, administration went way over last year on letting a bunch in and guessed wrong. Oh, well, we're just going to change the capacity number. Or more came in. I mean, it's just this, that's not the point of setting this up. The point of having transfer students, unless we don't pass the referendum, is to balance class sizes. That means a consistent capacity, and that's why we set up the formula the way we did, so that it allows some flexibility because we don't know who's going to move in, but it keeps it so that it's consistent. And so I guess that's what I'm struggling with is, I'm hearing the argument is, we don't want to guarantee that current transfer students stay, but let's vote for option 2, but change the capacity so that all the current transfer students can stay. That to me gives a lot more gray area. When I look at other school districts, they're not sending other transfer students away. They have a large capacity and they're saying, come in and we'll keep you. And if they decide to turn them away, it's similar to what has happened in the past, is it's kind of administration randomly, from the community's point of view, saying, now you're not allowed to stay, now you are. And I would like a policy that's very clear about that, and that's why, I mean, it's clear. I think that's what I'm struggling with, even these 2 options, is it feels like the same comments are being said, but complicating it instead of simplifying it. So if someone doesn't want to keep current transfer students, that's a fair viewpoint, but then you have to change some wording in this policy to make that part clear, not just approve what we currently have, if that makes sense.
Okay, George.
So part of the problem with all of this is it's really hard to put demographics in a box. And so there is absolutely no way, I mean, we can do all the projections we want to, but there's absolutely no way to know in the future if we get an influx of 100 residents because somebody bought an entire apartment block, or if we get an outflow of 200 because Purdue decided to close a department. So this entire effort is us trying to do the best we can to maintain numbers while also having little to no control over what the rest of the larger county does.
Okay. Lawrence.
Yeah, that probably, I think that's the option 3, basically kind of compromise. Say if you are already a current student, before 2026, we will make you in our school without consider the capacity. And after that, so we have this kind of transition provision that maybe handle this kind of complexities. So that's my suggestion.
Okay. David?
So I agree with Desha on this. Options 1 and 2 are different, but the way that they're being talked about as though they're the same. And where policy 2 or option 2, it does connect to later wording of when students apply, or when even current transfer students apply every year, then they're subject to the lottery. Whereas option 1 doesn't do that. But one thing that I really want to emphasize in option 1 is we're very clear that, however, continued enrollment is not guaranteed and remains subject to policy change. What that means is that we as a board can change the policy and the practice if we find a point where maybe somebody buys a parking lot and turns it into a housing development and we go way above our capacity limits. We can make that change. But to leave it in a gray area, I don't think is a very good idea. George, I also am not keen on talking about employers closing departments right now. So let's think about building more.
Yeah, and we're also talking about all this as if there aren't some other external changes that require us to remake the school system anyway, because it's not unheard of and it's been done in the past that we may need to build a new building or add a new wing. So all of these things are options that could happen if we get an influx of people. So I think this policy just needs to state that we're trying to keep a balance, but we're also not going to be heartless and say, we're going to pick 10 or 20 of you randomly and send you away because we prefer we prefer the people that happen to live in these boundaries. Once we accept them, we should keep them. But I'm also not saying that we should accept every single person. I think that's obviously and completely untenable. So we need to have managed numbers, which the administration will provide to us every spring. Then we make a decision, and then we go from there. We can't predict or control anything beyond that, but we can control how cruel we sound and how cruel we want to be for people that choose to make the time and investment in our community.
Well,
Whether or not remove this section.
yep, the current motion is to remove the whole continuing transfer student section, options 1, 2, and 3, and just let the policy speak for itself. So we're going to go ahead and vote on that first. And if we need to, then we'll come back to the other things. So David, I'm going to start with you.
No.
Okay? Daisha? Yue?
Yes.
Rachel? No. Lawrence?
Yes.
George?
No.
And I vote no. So we have to find something. We haven't really talked about option 3 at all. Is option 3 more better?
That's what I'm saying. I would proposal to amend the initial motion, just use the option 3. But basically, I want to make this simplified, too many paragraph here. So basically, the general idea is anything already enrolled in our school before 2026, we will make sure they can, we will accept them without the capacity constraints. And after that, we will make a reasonable effort to make the continuous student continue their education in our school. So something like this.
Okay. I do believe that that is what 3 says, that transfer
Yeah.
students who are enrolled this current school year will be retained except as permitted by law for disciplinary or attendance reasons.
Yeah.
Then transfer students that are new after 2026, 27, so starting in this current upcoming school year, we'll make reasonable efforts to keep them. However, nothing's guaranteed. That satisfies what you wanted, right? And then following the discontinuation of transfer status, any students enrolled as transfer students who leave and then try to come back are treated as new transfer student applicants. So that's what we're proposing now.
Yeah, that's my motion.
Is there a second? Okay. Okay, George.
Just a question, for option 3, is that reapplication paragraph completely necessary? Isn't that how we would proceed regardless?
We had that similar paragraphs for resident students, for employees' kids. So just to make it parallel, we have this for continuing students as well.
Okay.
That's already covered in the employee section though, right?
Well, employees' children are different from transfer children, so just they are in different categories. So for basically for anyone who changes their status from when they are enrolled, their enrollment will be reevaluated, basically.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's exactly what the.
Yeah, but the other ones are for that type of students. This one is for continuous student, just to kind of like a clarification. So, yeah, for example, if a student who are currently enrolled in this academic year, but not the student will not don't enroll in the coming year, then the student will become a new transfer student if the student come back. The student will not be treated as a student transfer student in year 25, 26 to 26, because they changed their transfer status. They are not, they become a new transfer students.
I still think it's unnecessary, but there's also no harm in keeping it, so.
Okay. Daisha.
Yeah, because they can always come back. Let's say next year, they go somewhere else, then several years later, they come back and say, oh, I was in your school in 25 to 26. I'm a continuing student. So it's just to fill in that loophole.
Okay, Daisha.
So I appreciate it. I do think option 1 and option 3 are opposite of each other. So I think this helps things. I just wanted to share where I stand personally. So I do think that there are many families in our school district who legitimately have concerns that they are paying additional taxes. They often face higher housing costs, and they want a priority in our schools. And I agree with them. I think the resident students will always come first. And to me, if there's a funding issue, a capacity issue, that's when our transfer students are uncertain. And that those that live out of district, they will always be carrying a risk. But for me personally, the reason, even though I appreciate what's been shared, the reason that I don't support option 3, I support option 1, is because for me personally, student mental health is as my highest priority. And stability is key to that. So I want the risk to be at the front end, which is what we're doing. I want the risk to be lower capacity per grade level, lower overall district numbers. I want that to be the uncertainty and the risk that families are facing to get in. And if we as a school district have decided we have capacity to take this family and have them a part of our community, then I want that to be where we move forward and let them work on their education and make friends and get connections and not play this, I don't know if next year there'll be a lot more because perchance a lot came in. And so that's why, to me, I agree that we need risk for out of district. And I think this policy is providing that risk, and I appreciate that. But I don't think telling transfer students that they're have to go year to year, to me, goes against what I think is vital, which is stability. So that's my viewpoint.
Okay, if I'm looking back, I have screwed up, which I know is shocking, but we never returned to Rachel's amendment to vote on option 1. So what I think we should do is vote on option 1, yes or no. If option 1 passes, we move on with life. If option 1 does not pass, then we choose between option 2 and 3. Is that okay? Wonderful. All right. I got it. Okay. So David, can I start with you on yes or no on option 1?
Yes.
Okay, Daisha? Yue? No. Rachel?
Yes.
Lawrence?
No.
George?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, so that passes 5-2, and we can move on. Holy Moses. Okay, where are we going? Now we have to go back to that.
We have to go back to the one.
Oh,
and
boy.
Because we did not close it, we don't, or we do, we do.
I don't even know.
I'm gonna
If the
get
board
there.
votes to retain all continuing transfer students, this needs to be deleted.
Correct, so we need to delete, I would like to make a motion that we delete item 1.
Okay.
Continuing current transfer students having completed the prior school year, the district will have the first priority enrollment. That is no longer necessary because of the vote.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, let me figure out why I can't copy all of a sudden, because that's fun. I don't understand. Is there a problem with that one? Are we okay? Okay, good. All right, so is there any discussion on deleting that sentence 1 on page, whatever page this is? 7. Everybody cool? Okay, David, do you have anything? No, okay. I vote yes, let's delete it. And George?
Yes.
Lawrence? Rachel?
Yes.
Yue? No. Daisha? Yes. David?
Yes.
Okay, so that one passes 6-1 to delete. Okay. Moving on.
Okay, moving on to the paragraph that begins, for those of you watching, we're getting close,
We're so
so
close.
you know.
David, you'll go to bed before 4, I promise.
So we're moving on to the paragraph that begins, this is the date, what we call the date paragraph. Transfer applications may be submitted from January 1 through March 31. Down near the bottom of that, there was a question, if an accepted transfer student does not enroll within 30 days, an email notification of transfer offer, the resulting vacancy will be filled by another transfer applicant. So the question to legal was if we can use email notification or if we have to add another option, such as certified mail or such. We received response from legal that we may use email notification. So I would make a motion that we approve this language, or actually, I'm gonna make a motion that we don't do anything.
Okay, just leave it alone?
Just leave it alone.
That's not a motion. Let's move on.
If somebody wants to argue that motion, let me know.
Nope, I think we're good.
Okay, the next section down, where we have something to look at. Section D, transfer student eligibility requirements. I do want to say that we had a legal question before we hop over there. We had a legal question if we're allowed to charge an application fee for transfer applications. That was one board member's request. No, we are not allowed to charge any application fee. Indiana code states a transferring corporation may not require a parent or student requesting transfer to school corporation to pay transfer tuition or any other fee associated with the transfer of the student. Unless somebody wants to make a motion there, that one is good. On section D, transfer student eligibility requirements, we have an amendment to language. Pursuant to state law, student's application to transfer to the corporation may be denied, and here's the recommended change, or a transfer student's enrollment discontinued if the student has been suspended for 10 or more school days, or suspended or expelled for possession of a firearm, deadly weapon, destructive device, causing physical injury to a person in violation of the corporation's drug or alcohol rules during the 12 months preceding the student's request to transfer. So all we are changing is that the transfer student's enrollment could be discontinued if one of those things happens during the school year. In other words, their transfer status would be held to the end of the school year when it was time to reapply.
Okay, George,
I
are
make
you,
that motion. Please
okay.
we make that
are you seconding?
I'll second, but also just provide a note. So this is one of the ways, for anybody concerned about transfers getting priority over in-resident students, this is one of the ways that not only do they not have priority, they're actually disadvantaged. Nobody likes disciplinary issues, but transfer students are actually subject to a slightly higher disciplinary standard because they can be excused.
Okay, anybody else have anything to say about that? Okay, we'll go ahead and vote. I think it's my turn to go first. I vote yes, we should add the language in red. George?
Yes.
Lawrence? Rachel?
Yes.
Yue? Daisha? And David?
Yes.
Okay, that passes 7-0. Are we done?
No, there's after that paragraph, there's a strikeout paragraph. It deals with the computation of the number of days of suspension. Legal has responded and said, so the recommendation is to delete that paragraph entirely. Legal has said the Indiana code definition of suspension excludes discipline under section 25. So again, I'm going to make a motion that we delete this paragraph because it is not legal.
Okay, is there a second? And any discussion?
I just have a question.
Yep.
Legal's the one that put it in there, so I'm wondering why they're now saying, like, this isn't any of us that asked for this. So I'm just wondering, did law change? Did they just change what they're understand? Do we know why they've changed their mind?
We don't.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments? All right, it's David's turn to go first. David, we're voting on whether or not to strike that language. Yes or no?
Yes.
Daisha?
Yes.
Yue? Rachel?
Yes.
Lawrence? George?
Yes.
I say yes, so that passes 7-0. Next, now we're cooking.
Right, so I'm gonna hop over section F, because it's just a the change, there's a change of a single word, there's some other oddball space missing here and there, so I'd like you to fit all those. Which takes us down to the last section, section C, summer school.
Says G.
Gee, sorry.
It's late.
My eyes are not working anymore, it's past my bedtime. Policy committee recommends discussion of these points. So we have one option, option one, non-resident students may be accepted into the summer school program provided by this corporation and may be charged a fee. Option two, non-resident students may be accepted into the summer school program provided by this corporation. As we were working, what we discovered, it is allowable under the law that non-resident students, so transfer students or other students in the community who want to take our summer school program or participate can be charged a fee for the ability to do that. And so really we're hoping to have a little bit of a conversation if we want to charge a fee for that or not charge a fee for that. I actually have some concern. I think while it would be very appropriate at a junior high and high school, it could be a good revenue source. I don't think it would be appropriate for K through 6 to allow for any students to enroll in like a remediation program. So I have that concern, and I'm not making a motion at this time. I'm just inviting conversation on it.
Okay, George?
I think we should take that opportunity, but also, just like we do with other things, when it comes to students who receive free or reduced lunch, we can reserve the right to waive that fee.
David, do you have? I'm sorry, I thought you were looking at me, but I should look at the text. Okay, Daisha, go ahead.
No, I was just trying to hear George. He was a little quiet, but I got what he said.
Did you get it?
Yeah, he
Yeah,
said,
I got what you said. I just had to lean in to hear.
okay, Daisha, go ahead.
I actually have that same concern, and I didn't notice this need to be something, like, how do we make sure that it's very clear? I have no issues with a transfer family being charged for that. I do have concerns, because now that we don't have the barrier that families have to pay the extra referendum, there are families that I know of that want to apply to our school district that could not afford summer school, and I don't want that to be a limiting factor for those children. And so what would be an appropriate way to make sure that we have, do we put it in policy that it needs to say free and reduced, or we just advertise it that way, or how do we make sure that that's covered?
Rachel?
I just want to point out, this is very, it's may provision stuff, right? So they may be accepted and they may be charged a fee. So it would really be, the way this is worded would be up to the superintendent and administration to set the guidelines. So they could say, obviously this free and reduced, or there could be scholarships available. They could make that determination, but if funds were no longer available for those scholarships, they might have to limit that. They could specify that it is just for junior high and high school, or high school grades only, and then change that rule later. I think the question is if we want to put that in policy, or if we want to just leave it a may provision and allow our superintendent to manage it. And I would love to hear Dr. Greiner's input on this.
Well, I heard the concern of the primary grades. And the primary grades for third grade, for example, it's a mandatory summer school. And so it's going to be funded by the state. And so we wouldn't have a reason to charge. High school, which is where you all agreed that that's more of a choice, that's where it would likely be applied.
Okay.
We bring fees to the board whenever we do charge.
Okay. All right, does somebody want to move one option or the other? Okay.
Which one?
Oh, let's duke it
Moving on
out.
option one. I'll second.
Option one, moving and seconding on option one. Okay. Let's see. LW moves. L seconds, option one. Okay. Any further discussion before we take that vote? Okay. I think it's my turn to start. I don't know whose turn it is to start, but I'm going to vote yes. Let's do that. George,
Yes.
Lawrence, Rachel, Yue, Daisha, David.
Yes.
Okay, that one passes.
So here, in policy would have one final request. I'd like to make a motion that in spaces in the policy where we have missing punctuation or missing words like of the, that we agree to allow those changes to be made without additional vote.
You move grammatical corrections.
Thank you for the words of that. Yes,
Yep.
I'd like to make a motion that we take care of grammatical corrections.
Is there a second? Okay, Lawrence seconds. Is there any discussion about grammar? Cool. David, do you move grammatical, or do you vote yes on grammatical corrections?
Yes.
Okay, Daisha, Yue, Rachel?
Yes.
Lawrence? George?
Yes.
And I'm yes, so that's 7-0 for good grammars and things.
One last policy fund comment. On one last policy fund comment, I do not believe that we currently have this policy in place. You would know, do we? I think that there's not this policy is not currently in place, so there is not a policy to rescind on
Not a
this.
replacement. Okay, so now we need a motion to approve the policy as negotiated. David moves that? Or do you have to? Okay, David,
Yes, I'd like to make the motion to accept this policy with all the changes that we made, please.
okay,
Only second.
all right. Is there,
I don't want to hold anybody any longer than we have to, but does anyone want to go over the changes before we vote, or are you all clear?
I can't hear you,
oh,
George.
please, God, no, he wants to know if we want to go through it all and make sure we are clear on the changes.
As
but
secretary, I have to ask.
We
I'm
have a
sorry.
video, so we can go back over the video if we need. And I wrote it down, you wrote it down. I think we're okay.
And to
Roberta
clar-
wrote it down.
And to clarify, I apologize, I did pull up the spreadsheet, and it does say that this one correlates with 5131 and 6150 is what they said, but I don't.
Can we rescind those next month? Let's rescind. I'll give a rescission note next month.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're now voting on whether or not to accept the policy as negotiated. I vote yes. How about you, George?
Yes.
Lawrence? Rachel?
Yes.
Yue?
So there's no discussion for this.
I mean, we can, but that's what we've been doing for 2.5 hours or so. I think people are pretty clear on your
I think she wants to make
opinion.
a statement essentially.
Could you make the statement during your member?
Before any votes and people.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. That's fine. We'll start it again in a minute.
First of all, I appreciate the policy committee's hard work on this and also giving the board members sufficient time to discuss and collect the community feedback. And at this point, because we took the option one for continuing students and based on all the feedback I heard from the residents, and I don't think that's what the residents want. And also that create some differences for different group of people, because with that option, we give continuing transfer students guaranteed enrollment, but for employees' case, once the employee resign a job or whatever, don't work here anymore, and their kids don't have that stability or don't have that continuity. And so for the community members, if for any reason the community member cannot afford to live here, their kids will be treated as new transfer students. So basically we treat a different type of students differently with that policy. And so that's one. And then for the how to determine the cap, and I propose to add the total number of transfers, and so.
I'd like to call the question, please.
So.
Okay.
What would you mean?
I'd like to call the question.
So.
That
I
means,
just need to.
You do need to have a we have to have a vote to.
Can we, I'd like to call the question, please. We've been at this. We have other business we need to do tonight. Everybody's positions are well-known.
okay.
I'd like to just call the question, please.
So we're voting on whether or not to call the question. Is that?
To be fair, we haven't voted to call the question because the question was called earlier today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think in the interest of fairness, we do need to vote now.
Okay. Is that a second?
I'll second.
Okay. And so I vote yes to call the question. George?
Yes.
Lawrence?
No.
Rachel?
Yes.
Yue? That means we're going to just go ahead and vote, that we understand what you,
So you're saying I shouldn't finish?
yes, that's what we're saying. That's what she is asking for. Okay, great. Daisha? And David?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 4-3 to call the question. And so now we're going back to vote on accepting the policy as negotiated. I voted yes. George?
Yes.
Lawrence?
Yes.
Rachel?
Yes.
Yue?
No.
Daisha?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Okay, that passes 6-1. Thank you. All right. The next item is for you, Dr. Greiner. Go ahead and give us your report.
Thank you, Mrs. Austin. As we continue preparing for final decisions related to a potential referendum, we're working with Morris Leatherman to conduct a community opinion survey to help us better understand perspectives across West Lafayette. This is the same survey firm that we used in 2023 during the referendum renewal. This same survey firm also included Mr. Don Lifto, who we worked with directly, and we've been in contact with Mr. Lifto as well. The process will begin with questionnaire development in late April, with phone interviews of approximately 400 residents starting May 18th and continuing through the end of the month. If this sounds familiar, it's because it's the process we went through in 2023. Survey analysis will be completed in early June, with results scheduled to be presented to the board at the June 8th meeting. The cost of the survey is $28,000, with the understanding that Mr. Lifto would review those results virtually with the board to save travel fees such as airfare, cost of board, and food. Also, I'd like to remind the board that during the personnel report, you approved the retirement of Cindy Nyes and Marydale Forbes. Mrs. Nyes has been in the district for has taught for 22 years, and she's served our district at Westside for 16 years. Mrs. Forbes has taught for 15 years. I'd like to just express my appreciation for their years of service and education, and particularly their years of service at West Lafayette Schools in supporting our students, our schools, and our families. Lastly, the question of part-time student enrollment was recently raised. To date, there will not be a policy on this. However, given the interest in discussing this topic, the logical next step would be for the board policy committee to discuss part-time enrollment and determine if a policy should be developed. To conclude our report, I'd like for Mrs. Roth to please report out on accounts payable and the fund reports. And then after that, if there's questions from the board regarding our reports, Mrs. Roth and/or I will be happy to entertain questions.
Yep, thank you for the reminder. All right, so claims for the period of February 5th through March 4th, 2026 total $3,909,255.22. This amount includes both corporation and WEVEC expenses. Salaries and benefits for the same period totaled $2,722,529.74. Please note, a final fund report is in the board packets for the month of January 2026. Total funds on hand amounted to $28,091,087.27, and the education fund balance was at $8,145,446.60. The preliminary fund report for February is also included in the board packet, but it has not yet been completed or reconciled.
Okay, thank you. On Dr. Greiner's recommendation, thank you both. On Dr. Greiner's recommendation, I'd like to go ahead and make that assignment to the policy committee. Is that amenable? Okay, super. And that means the next item is our board reports. And since David is, do you have a question? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And I'm sorry, so am I understanding we're taking the homeschool part-time policy? Because actually a community member just pointed out to me that we do have a policy in place. It's 9270. So I think the first question is, just CCHA have one they're recommending to change it or kind of?
So for
follow steps?
clarification, and then I'll let Mrs. Witt verify what I'm saying. We have a policy that's going to be rescinded. That policy gives the administrator, the high school administrator, the option to consider, and then the superintendent. And right now, the superintendent would support the principal. So if the board wants to adopt a policy, because Church Little and Antrim does not have a policy, that's something we would need to take forward. And it's my understanding that there's been discussion about whether or not the board would consider a policy moving forward. And so if the board is interested in doing that, I think it would go to the policy committee.
So do I
Mrs. Witt,
understand-
would you like to
Sorry,
add to that?
Please explain.
Well, I was going to say I'm going to speak for David and Lawrence, if they should chime in. From my position, what the policy committee would do would be to look at some options for that and be able to send to the board different possible language, much like we did here. Is this something we want to move forward with? We're not going to make the decision if we're moving forward or not, but if we try and bring that to a meeting without any pre-discussion, it's going to be a challenge. So that's what in my mind, David and Lawrence, do you agree that that's what we're doing in this?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I agree.
And if any
Yeah,
board member is
sounds
familiar with language that they would like to send to us, I am certain that we would appreciate that. When David gets back in the country, we'll make we'll make a meeting time.
Perfect. And then just to share, I think, so the policy that we just passed says that either by March or before it, the board needs to approve the available transfer seats and non-resident enrollment notice before the superintendent can take the next step. So my understanding is if we want to open up, like if we're going to move forward with the transfer policy, we need to approve the document that was created with the available transfer seats.
The table that was in there?
Not the data that lists the available transfer seats that was shared. But correct me if I'm wrong. That was my understanding of the policy. And so if we're taking the policy and moving forward, we have to do what we do every March, which will be approve the superintendent's recommendation for available transfer seats, which is capacity minus ADM with that.
I thought we did that as part of that option 1 on page 6.
So that's a capacity number. That's not the same. That does not list the available seats, but I mean, maybe I'm just reading it differently. My understanding is it's not saying annually we have to approve the capacity. That's set. It's do we approve that is the way I'm reading the policy.
Okay. And we have that math already? It's in box to go ahead and approve that?
Do you have that, Dr. Greiner, that we could?
I do have that, yes. Mr. Hamilton, would you please post the document that I suggested we would need to post during the board meeting?
Go ahead, take care of that. All of a sudden, the box is trying to talk to me. I need AI to stop. Okay. Oh, they moved it.
This is that data relevant to the transfer policies. Okay.
Okay, so we're in.
Amy?
Yes,
That is
sir.
not the correct one. That's the one we use, Mr. Hamilton. It's the one that I put in box. Thank you.
The data relevant to the transfer policy discussion, updated parentheses 1 PDF. Okay. Yes, David.
I have I'm looking at the document right now, so I'd like to make a motion to approve those numbers
Okay.
on the data relevant to the transfer policy discussion.
Okay, is there a second? George seconds. Any discussion on that? No? Okay. I vote yes. How about you, George?
Yes.
Lawrence? Rachel?
Yes.
UA? We're voting on the numbers and the data relevant to the transfer policy discussion, updated one parentheses that has the projected capacity numbers and the available transfer seat capacity that Dr. Griner sent.
I think he's pulling it up right now. I
Yeah,
can
it's
read
coming.
them as we go. Kindergarten 10, first grade 24, second grade 21. Okay, they're up there.
There you go. I'll come back to you, Daisha. David?
Yes.
Okay, have you had enough time? Okay, great. Everybody approved that, and I appreciate the catch, Daisha. I'm throwing that in here because I don't know where it goes. Okay. Did we get all your questions? Thank you. Okay, so we're moving on. We've got board reports. David, do you want to start?
Sure.
Thanks.
So Parks and Rec, sorry, I'm getting a lot of feedback right now.
Oh,
Is that better? If anybody has microphones, if you don't mind turning them off, because, all right, that's better. I'll keep it short. Main things, the pool at the Wellness Center, the heater broke, but now it's fixed, so people don't have to swim in ice anymore. And if anybody has any free time and they want to give back to the community, the Wellness Center is having the annual egg hunt coming up early April, I believe. And every year they do somewhere between 20 and 25,000 eggs that need to get stuffed. And so there's always somebody by the front desk who probably would be willing to have anybody's help. So feel free to go over and volunteer to help. Otherwise, there's a light meeting, so I will end now.
okay, thanks, Daisha. Okay, and Yue?
I have some questions regarding what Sean said earlier, the survey. You said we will hire the company with 28,000 for the community survey to get ready for the referendum. So I wonder, so the purpose of the survey is what kind of questions we will ask the community members, also whether that is already done or we will be asked to vote on that contract later. I'm a little bit confused by that one.
Thank you for the question, Dr. Yan. It will be similar to last time, where there are several survey questions developed and proposed to the board. The board will have an opportunity to provide input, and there will be an opportunity to add additional questions. Is that accurate from what you heard in the meeting and what you remember?
Yes. There are a total of 35 questions, correct?
Correct.
And 2 of which can be developed. They will make some suggestions and they will have some from which to choose, but ultimately it's a back and forth discussion.
And the purpose of it is to promote a referendum, or because I'm just trying, because we kind of, I don't really exactly know the details for their survey, but it sounds to me 20,000 for 400 participants means $70 from each responses. I wonder about the value of that service. Just what do we want to get from the community to help us with the referendum here?
Ultimately, that would be a decision of the board whether or not we would move forward with it. We can put it on as a vote. We're not required to, but if there's discussion among the board and the board feels concerned about whether or not they would want to move forward with the survey, then we can certainly put it on for a vote and or decide that we're not going to move forward with the survey. Mr. Jeff Daler would highly recommend it. He used it last time and helped guide the board on whether or not they would move forward with the referendum and or things that we would need to understand as an administration and a board regarding concerns related to the district that might be considered as we work to promote the referendum.
Okay, and since we did the referendum not too long ago, and we did a survey last time, I wonder whether we can recycle the questions and modify the questions, just to do it ourselves to save the money. I'd rather spend the money for teachers rather than anything unnecessary if it's not necessary.
That could be a discussion among the board, and the board could make that decision certainly and guide us on whether or not you wanted to go forward with our recommendation of moving forward with the survey, or whether or not the board wanted to go a different direction with regard to making a decision.
So we haven't promised them that we are buying their service, right? Okay, good to know.
Correct.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Do you have a board report from Glass? Okay.
So I watched the High School Musical. It's so amazing. It's just so impressive every time. Thanks.
Okay, Rachel?
2 reports. One is the foundation. We heard from Wendy that the Scarlet and Gray event is on March 28th. I also have a prom dress. It's going to be awesome. The Alumni Association is hosting the 8th Wall of Pride class on Thursday and Friday, April 9th and 10th. So that's always a highlight for us, and we will be invited. So please mark your calendars. The Friday afternoon convocation will also be live streamed this year, which is a nice addition if you can't get there. 62 students have applied for scholarships through the foundation, so they'll be celebrating in May with those scholarship donors and the students who are selected. And finally, mark your calendars for Friday, June 5th. The foundation will be the nonprofit at the game at the Lafayette Aviators baseball. There'll be more information to come. That is always a good time. On last Friday, I had the ISBA board meeting. Paul Ketchum, the assistant superintendent of the IDOE was there and kind of gave us some information. One of those is related to tag grants. They are understanding that the tag grants as they are structured may blow up school culture. And so they are trying to take an eye to that. You might be interested to know that initially 21 students refused the tag allocation because of the culture issue. 5 of those, after talking with the IDOE, backed off of their position and accepted tag funds. 16 did not. They are also working on the A to F accountability model. They've added a success factor in 7th grade. I'm sure there will be a lot more information to come on that. They are having a lot of conversation right now about the timing of the ADM count day being moved to October 1st. It makes a budget adoption a little bit of a challenge by November 1. So that's another kind of conversation they're having. The next round of coffee chats will happen the first 2 weeks of August. EGA awards are going to be presented at the spring meeting, so hopefully you've marked your calendar for that. Those of you who intend to come, that is on April the 6th. There are a lot of changes this year, as we know, with the partisan voting for anyone considering running for the school board. And some of them surprised me, and I thought I knew about them. So I want to encourage anyone considering in this room or out in the community to look at the 2026 Indiana Candidate Guide. The school board information is on page 103, and that is available on the state elections website. The first day to file is May the 19th. The last day is June the 18th, so that's the window. The member directories are going to be mailed by the 31st. They are currently available online. There's a new website for the ISBA. It is up and running, and unlike the past, your points and ranking are now available if you log in. And finally, I just want to make a statement that I am very grateful for our teachers who are retiring, and Mrs. Nice will forever be the New York City Zoo teacher because that is how she taught the children how to spell her name. I was given this book as a gift. I'd like to pass this down to you, Amy. This came from the ISBA, Why School Boards Matter. I did a skim, and it is really nice content. You might want to consider it for the board overall.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I am done. Have a good night.
Lawrence, go ahead.
Yes, regarding West Lafayette School Education Foundation, I met Wendy February 23rd, so we have a nice meeting, so I get a better understanding of our school education, but I haven't been in their meeting yet, so I'm looking forward that the next monthly meeting will be this Thursday, so I will join their meeting. And for the Great Lafayette Education Foundation, I haven't been in their meeting, so there's nothing to report. And another thing I want to recognize is recently I joined the Cinderella, the student product of Cinderella's. I was quite impressed. I mean, in terms of quality, the performance, I mean, it's not really pretty close to the Broadway shows. I mean, even you don't need to go to the Big Apple, you can still enjoy very high quality music shows here. So I really think we are so fortunate to have the whole music teachers team. You know, they produce these kind of things. The students get their very unique experience. So I truly appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. George? Okay, I'll let you type. I will do mine. The Redevelopment Commission, the Public Safety Center is moving along. You see lots of cranes and activity over there. Fire Station 3 is in progress. Early Childhood Education Center is being explored, and Cason Park's final details are being finished up. Street lighting updates will be starting in June, and they approved new equipment for the police and fire departments. And board teacher discussion was very collaborative, talking a lot about current events. And the board leadership meeting, we discussed how to approach last week's work session. Sorry. Okay. I said that to Roberta. You don't have to write what I say. Go ahead.
I won't keep you here any longer than I have to, so I'll only mention one thing. The state legislature
Yep.
has passed a bell-to-bell ban on cell phones in schools. So we will have to adopt a policy about that later in the year, but keep your eyes open for that, because it will be coming soon.
My son was not. Okay, I think that is all for us this evening. Our next work session will be on my birthday, April 13th at 5, if we need it. And the regular meeting will also be April 13th at 6. And enjoy your spring breaks starting on March 13th. I need a motion to adjourn, please.
I'd like to
By
make a
Lauren.
motion to adjourn
Moved by everybody.
at 2:12
We're in there.
a.m.
Thank you.
Brussels